everyone. If you're rejoining me, welcome back in. If you weren't here with us earlier today, welcome in. Sorry. What's going on here? Hold on. Jeez, that thing was not trying to listen. All right, guys. I could pull chat on my phone because it's more in real time than my restream chat. So, let me get organized here. All right. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Who do we have here with us this afternoon? Fiend is back in the house. Forrest, welcome back in. Rachel, thank you, Rachel. Pammy, hey girl, hey, how are you? We've missed you, ma'am. Glad to have you in. Hey Higgins, welcome in. It's been a minute. Hybrid, welcome back. Hybrid Pisces. Marcy, welcome in. Good to see you. How are you? All right, guys. Oh, Pima County Sheriff's Office released a little statement, y'all. Let me go grab it real quick. It's nothing, earth shattering. Let's see. Where's it at in their feed? Is this it? Yes, here we go. This week marks the 6 months since Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home. This investigation remains active and ongoing. Is it really active or is it cold? When a significant development occurs in the case, it will be shared publicly. The minute they find it, y'all, they're going to share it. No, he's lying. We know that. The Guthrie investigation remains active and ongoing. A task force of investigators from the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI remains committed to finding Nancy and providing answers to her family. The analysis of DNA and digital evidence has been underway for the past 6 months. This work is complex and time sensitive, but investigators continue to pursue every credible lead. As Savannah Guthrie recently said, it is never too late to do the right thing. Anyone with information is urged to come forward and help bring the case to resolution. Those with credible information that may assist the investigation should contact 1-800 call FBI or 88 crime. Callers to 88 crime may remain anonymous. Sheriff Chris Nanos. Now, it is important to acknowledge that Miss Nancy has been missing for 6 solid months. Did any of us think it would get that long without a resolution? No, we didn't. You listened to it earlier. I listened to bits and pieces of it. I like to have my little blind reactions sometimes. It depends if something pops off at night and I'm not live, I may review it. Sometimes if it's happening right around me, I'll wait. Plus, we've been so busy. So I did watch a little bit of it. We are going to get started. Signed, Chris Nanos, crappy sheriff. Yeah, sir. Yeah. All right, y'all, the Netflix documentary has aired. Early this morning, I watched a little bit of first episode, and I haven't turned it back on. Of course, we were busy all day. I'm going to watch it tonight. That's probably why I went a little hard this morning, calling out people who aren't calling out the trauma vultures known as the people tearing down the Idaho 4 families. So that's that. Now, I'm going to watch it because there will be interviews in there. Christy Goncalves, bless that lady's soul, is all I'm going to say. Every time I see her, I get everything she's saying and feeling. I feel it in my soul every time she talks about it, and I always have. Now, just because Lauren Matthias and Hidden True Crime and Web Sleuths like to go and use families and, do all the things they're doing, that doesn't mean that everybody who ever interviews a family member does the same thing, guys. So when you see these documentaries and stuff, no, families have a choice to say, I'll be a part of it or not. Whether or not they were duped, lied to, manipulated, I have no clue. But I also think they also want their voices heard sometimes. And I'll always support that if they're a willing participant in something, right? Until we find out, hey, dirty deeds were done dirt cheap, and then we're not going to tolerate that mess either. So, if y'all are interested in watching the series, go. The name of it, let me pull that up exactly for you. Hold on one second. It's a new docu-series that dropped on Netflix. Now, we've seen many, the Amazon Prime, the Datelines, God, countless others. I can't even remember all of them. The Idaho Murders College Nightmare. Just aired, I think, yesterday. And we double lived yesterday, so I have not had a chance to watch it, but I'm going to tonight because I've watched all the other uh, specials that came out. Right? She does, Higgins. Because I understand what she's saying there. It hits me in my soul each and every time. So let's go take a look at Cyree doing these families a solid, since Turvey didn't do them a solid. Turvey came out and fed the narrative that was popular on the internet. So we'll let him do him because I think he's going to have a hard downfall. It's going to go downhill. Now, people are coming at Cyree. He turned on Kohberger. He this, he that. Let's let them think and let's let them feel what they want to feel. We're not worried about it. We're here to support the family and the victims in the Idaho 4 case. And if Cyree can bring me some dirt on Bryan Christopher Kohberger, I'm here for it all day long, and I'll be back all night if I need to be, sir. If you want to keep talking, I'll be listening. I don't think you're trying to clean up your reputation. I don't know what you got to clean up. All you said is there's a discrepancy here, and by God, you weren't wrong, were you? Turns out you weren't wrong, Cyree. Allegedly, I don't know. I haven't seen the evidence yet, and I haven't seen anybody refute what you're saying. So I'm gonna give the guy a solid at the moment. Sorry, but that's just my opinion, and I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm not gonna ignore it all because it's a cleanup crew situation. Like, that's so in the weeds. Higgins, I've studied Cyree for years. He's not new to me, right? I've been on Idaho 4 from before the probable cause affidavit was released, before we had any suspect, just what the hell happened in that house where 4 people were murdered and 2 survived. I've been here that long. I've never disliked Cy just because he was a defense expert. We dove into his past. We looked at all his past cases, all his court, even including the cases that were thrown out of court where he wasn't allowed to testify. We know it all, right? But he's an expert. They're a dime a dozen, so we take them all with grains of salt around here. Exactly. When you put the weight on the 2, Firefly, ding, 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 we're going with Ray at the moment because tipsy, topsy-turvy. You're a strange little character, and we reviewed you with an open mind. There's a cleanup, by God, show me, because I'm not tolerating that either, see? But he said lack of items in a bathroom showed a cleanup, and Cy's like, no swirl marks? Huh, imagine that. Just coming out of the grocery store outlet, and then the Blue Angels are right above me and loud today. Scream it, ma'am. Enjoy that beautiful show. Coming out the, I've been there before. Come out the grocery outlet and then fly right over. It's close to the base, actually. There's one close to the base. Damn it. Nice. I love that for you. I so love that for you. Hometown heroes here. Shout out. Go Blues. I was privileged enough as a little girl growing up. One of our babysitter, when my mom waited till we were all in school and all the things, and she went back to work part-time for a while, and her really good friend babysat us, and she knew a couple of the pilots, so they were always bringing us stuff. It was so cool. We had all kinds of stuff. Okay. And I've been on the beach, and they just fly right out of nowhere. Here they come, leaving the base, because the base is like right there. You can't miss it. And so it's wild. It's always a treat. You can sit out in your backyard and they fly right over your house, give it practicing. I used to live at the back door of the base, basically, and it was always a show. All right, let me get this pulled up. We were having a little bit of swamp signal issue today, guys. I don't know if it was because my grandbaby was trying to play that thing, that his game this morning, or what it was. Okay, we got it pulled up. I can get it up now. All right, let me get this up so I can get my, also see my chat. It wasn't their only shot at 100% conviction, but it was they were going to miss the mark on their death penalty. They were going to do that. And I think Bill got a little nervous. All his laziness was going to show, and Maori's laziness was going to show, and their inability to actually properly map data. And why not dive into 6 months worth of data? If Cy can place that guy in the fucking house, legit, what were you doing, Bill Thompson? Hook, line, and sinker. What were you actually doing? My questions lie with Bill Thompson, and not because I think Bryan Kohberger's innocent. I've never thought that a day in my life. Not one time. I went down tunnels to prove so. I've climbed through windows I shouldn't have climbed through, basically. I've went upstairs and put myself in a house I should have never have been in. Right, Firefly? Lord help us all. All right, Bryan Entin, you little sweetheart, take it away.
In Anzanocronodal. I kind of had an inkling that this might be coming because there was a deadline that he had to hit if he was going to appeal. But it's interesting. I'm going to go over all of the new elements in this episode. I have his handwritten letter that he wrote, the affidavit that he's filing to try and get this whole thing started. I'm talking to Steve Goncalves, victim Kaylee Goncalves' dad, about what he thinks about all of this and how he's processing it. And I am talking to a attorney in Idaho, which is important because you have to understand the law in Idaho to know how this is going to move forward. If it's possible, there's a Supreme Court case that comes into play. And I'm going to kind of cover all factors here in this episode of Bryan Entin Investigates. I'm going to get in the car because it's so hot. All right, hey guys, so I found some shade. I actually didn't get in the car, but I found like a little shady area, but it's, again, just like super, super hot. I knew that, so like there's a group of reporters that I'm friends with that we've all covered the Bryan Kohberger case together. And we were texting the last couple of weeks thinking that the possibility of an appeal could be coming, or Kohberger trying to get an appeal, because there's a deadline. And I think it's like in September, like he had to file something by then or he would lose his chance. So it's kind of something that I was keeping an eye on, but I wasn't really sure he would do it. And this is the reason why. I kind of thought with him, he would have nothing to lose. Like, why not? He's stuck in jail for the rest of his life, in prison for the rest of his life. He might as well try. The worst thing that happens is he gets a new trial and he gets the death penalty, and then he sits on death row for decades. So like, I wasn't really putting it past him. And also there's been all these books and the Broken Plea book and all these, articles and podcasts and stuff that he's probably seen kind of like revving him up to do it. But the reason I thought maybe he wouldn't do it, and now we know he is, but the reason I thought maybe he wouldn't is I thought maybe he wouldn't want to do it to his family. I was at like almost every hearing, and his parents were at several of them, and they were crying. And I know he was close to his mom. And that was one reason I thought maybe he wasn't going to do it, just to like kind of spare them the agony of going through all of that, bringing the whole case and them and the family back into the limelight. But in his statement, he says that apparently they stand by him in all of this. So maybe they're happy he's doing this. I don't know. But I'm going to go through everything with you, everything new that's happened with Bryan Kohberger now saying that he is not guilty.
We're going to go ahead and get to the interview, guys, because we already know all this. No shade, Bryan, but it is your show there, and we already know. Thank you, though. Who's she? Who's she? Oh, who is she?
Process. I spoke with Edwina Elcox, and she's an attorney in Idaho that I have gone to several times since all of this started, because you have to look for stuff like this. There's an Idaho Supreme Court case that comes into play with about whether he can appeal. You have to go to people in the state to get it, because they're the ones who understand the state law. Just getting some attorney from another state doesn't really work in a situation like this. So I want Edwina, by the way, and all of the lawyers I've talked to are not convinced that this is actually going to work, that he's going to get an appeal. But I want to play for you for what she said to me. Hey, Edwina, thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I really wanted to talk with you when I heard about this because I wanted someone in Idaho to kind of explain, because the big question, and I know there's an Idaho Supreme Court case, the big question is, Kohberger says he wants to change his plea, but can this really go anywhere?
I don't think so. My very strong sense is this will go nowhere. Obviously, his claims are under this umbrella of ineffective assistance of counsel. And first of all, he had a team of lawyers. And so each of those lawyers individually has their own ethical obligations to him as the client. And this notion that he was somehow bullied into taking a plea, obviously probably will not carry, I would say, much weight, given the fact that Judge Hippler went through with him during his guilty plea, extensively to make sure individually on a basis that his plea was knowing and voluntarily given. And then this other assertion that there was somehow sort of exculpatory evidence that he perhaps is now asserting that he wasn't aware of, didn't understand, etc., that with this clump of hair that was in Ethan Chapin's hands, I do not see this going anywhere. Obviously, we know that the defense team litigated this case up and down, that there were motions filed for every iteration that it seems that we publicly knew of, that they could think of in this case. And you're telling me that when we get to this plea was on the virtual eve of trial, right? That we all anticipated that this case was proceeding forward to trial, that these attorneys hid an exculpatory piece of evidence from Kohberger to get him to enter a plea when we all thought that this case would be proceeding to trial is ludicrous in my mind.
Okay, so that was Edwina. Appreciate her for taking the time. We'll see how this plays out. I spoke with Steve Goncalves, who is obviously Kaylee Goncalves' dad, one of the victims, who I've been in touch with since the beginning of this whole thing. And remember, they wanted him to have to confess at the plea hearing. First of all, they didn't want the plea. They wanted a trial so everything would be out in the open. They also wanted, if there was going to be a plea, they wanted him to have to confess. So that, talk about why he did it, how he did it, so that they could avoid something like this. But the prosecution didn't require that in the plea deal. And I remember them bringing that up many times. But anyway, I spoke with Steve a little while ago after this news came out, just to get his take. And he's got an interesting, obviously, perspective on all this, but he also shares some interesting information about how he found out that this was happening. Listen to what Steve said. Hey, Steve. It's nice to see you, as always. I guess I first wanted to ask you just like how you and Christy are doing, and Olivia, and I know you were at work today. I was just talking to the people I'm with, and you forget that Steve has to work during the day, and he finds out these things he's got a job like everybody else. You know what I mean? You guys are trying to go on with your lives, and then something like this happens. How are you guys doing?
Oh, yeah, I learned quite early. I think I probably knew what was going on. At least the author, gave me a heads up, which I really appreciated. And that gave me some time to just let the kids know, let the wife know, hey, this is what's happening. And, talk to Shannon. Let's figure
Mike Baker let him know? The author of what? The New York Times article?
out, the best approach to how this works. And so yeah, that's how our day started, and we just, we've kind of learned to just roll with it, and there's only so much you can do, and hopefully you can lean on the people that you trust and love, and get through it.
When you said you spoke to the author, was that of the book, The Broken Plea Book?
No, that was Baker who wrote.
Oh, I see. The New York
He broke
Times,
it.
the reporter. So he gave you a heads up before.
Yep, he did, and that's what I was saying. I really appreciated that because it's just better to know what you're about to face than to just get blasted with there's so many ways to communicate with people now. So you're getting instant messages, and you're getting Facebook alerts, and you're getting media alert. It just gets overwhelming. So you kind of just get yourself, all right, this is what my day is going to look like, and I'm ready to deal with it.
Did you suspect it at all? Because I had heard maybe like 2 weeks ago, I started to hear like, oh, there is this deadline and he could possibly file something. Like, did you hear any of those rumblings? Did you have any like sort of feeling this might be coming?
Yeah, we had heard little rumors about this, and I mean, I'll be honest, they were saying it was going to be a little bit longer, possibly in September, but they told me nothing to really worry about. It's not something that it's preventable. You can't prevent it at all. So, just it's coming down the pipe, and get your family in order.
Are you worried about it at all?
No, well, yeah, at first I was a little bit worried because there's a lot of angles at which you can attack, the truth. There's a lot of ways you can go in and say, hey, now that I've seen every bit of evidence, can I poke a little hole through there? Can I find a little place where they didn't have me covered? So I was worried that he would have something really good and juicy in there. And so he writes like he's in third grade. So when you can finally piecemeal what he's saying, and got to write it out, and like it's like he needs a translator. But once you figure out what he's saying, there was nothing there. I mean, it was really, really a relief to know that he didn't have something that was big, because when you've done the crime, you would know how to find where there's little mistakes, where they've got things wrong, because you were there. So you could poke at those things, and I was just nervous about that.
Yeah, I wonder if after a year in prison there, he's in solitary, or I don't know, he might still be, if this is just like a boredom, like, why not? Like, what do I have to lose at this point? The only thing that I was hesitating, thinking maybe he wouldn't do it, was if he cared about his parents in that way. You're putting your whole family through this again. But then
It's a very narcissistic man, and I think the only one he may have a feeling for is mother. We all knew and predicted that Bryan Kohberger was going to have a field day in the legal library because he's going to be bored with nothing better to do but torture. We knew that.
I was thinking, his parents have never come out and acknowledged his guilt, really.
No.
And even the sister who did the interview, said that her heart went out to you and to the victims, but she never said, I can't believe my brother did this.
No, I was a little surprised that he kind of brought them into that paper that he wrote up, the post-conviction relief. He wrote that they were witnesses. So that is something that I'll have to dig into a little bit, to figure out, like, I did ask a little bit, like, is it normal for, a mass murderer to have his family surrounded by him when he's getting a plea deal?
Well, when Ann Taylor found out that Cy Ray said, ma'am, if they dig in, your guy's cooked. And Ann's like, damn, to have time to have that talk. So the idea that Bryan Kohberger's parents weren't a part of his discussion with his legal team about taking a plea deal would not surprise me, right? Especially when Ann knows, or should have known, mother will help me get him to sign this plea deal because she doesn't want the DP. I don't know. We can all speculate.
Seems very odd, but and I was told that is odd, but maybe So we're gonna figure out what was going on there. But long story short, they're like, it's nothing that can be prevented, and there's not much to be worried about unless he has some type of angle that he's been working on for 3 or 4 years, and that's what he's dropping, and that's mainly what we were concerned with.
You wanted a trial all along.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot
I
of
was
the
never
things
scared
you
of it.
wanted, it's kind of like people thought you were a little nutty in the moment, and then
Mhm.
we kind of keep seeing these things happen where it's like, even
Well, Firefly, that pretty much implies trial, because the only way for the state to prove their case is take it to trial. But what can the state prove? Can they prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt? They didn't even do their homework on their their cell data, apparently, allegedly. We don't know. So if he, under post-conviction relief, he can't just take, if he takes back that plea, he triggers new trial status. He should know that. He's a criminology student. He's got the books right there. The books are right there, Kohberger. So, yeah, he wants the state to prove their case, but the only way to do it is in the court of law.
you immediately
Bill Thompson ain't gonna come do an interview and tell Bryan Entin the goods. We know better. We know better.
pushed for a confession. You said if you're going to give him the plea, at least give us that, where he has to verbally confess. I mean, are you kind of looking back thinking like, I wish they would have done some of these things?
I feel aces. I feel like my legal counsel was right on, told me exactly what to expect and what we could do. We knew that he has like this cult-like following of people. So
He does have a following. Can y'all imagine what the new attorneys were thinking when they got assigned this case? Because, Hitler's already given him and that's the law. We don't want any of his rights violated. By God, no, we don't want him out on a Supreme Court. We do not want Bryan Kohberger let go by the United States Supreme Court because his constitutional rights were broken. So give him his damn lawyer. Now, what's that lawyer thinking today? Is he scratching his head? Is he face palming in his office going, holy fuck? Good luck with your evidentiary hearing. May or may not be granted. Depends on Judge Hitler's mood that day, I think.
only way to, pull a cult out of something like that is with hard facts that they can't compose and twist and turn into something else. So if you would have admitted about the second weapon or something along those where experts could opine on that and say, hey, that fits these details that we've never released, that would have been great. But, Thompson basically said he's the big boy and he had no worries. And I think his official statement was, we don't need it. And he would just probably lie to us if he did. So what that means to me is this will be over, in 6 months. We won't be dealing with this for years.
That's what he said. He said that the behavioral analysis unit told me, Bill, these guys just lie. You'll never get the truth out of them. Bill Thompson, have you met the actual BAU? Have you met them? Do you need me to send you some YouTube videos of BTK? Do you need me to send you information on the BAU and their plea deal agreement to work with Rex Heuermann, Liar McLiersons? They're the ones qualified to figure out if he's lying or not, sir. You like nanos, you like to blame the FBI for stuff because they don't care. They're like, shut up, Bill.
Years. And if we are, then somebody probably should have went back and did his homework and made sure that he got a confession because, he said it wasn't needed. So I'm going to hold him to that.
Yeah, all the lawyers that I've spoken to today seem to think this is kind of like he gets the right.
For those of y'all who think Bryan Kohberger doesn't want a new trial, do y'all understand why you file post-conviction relief? It's not a get out of jail free card because you decided you might not be guilty today after saying you were. Y'all know what happens next in the process? Does he need to come out and say, I want a new trial, period? Does he need to say it? That's why you file post-conviction relief. He's asking, can he take back his plea? So what's he going to do? Stand up and plead not guilty this time instead of standing silent? Then he's going to have to go to trial and prove he's not guilty.
To a hearing, this will kind of be a moment, and then it's kind of a closed case after that.
Yeah, it's part of a process that was probably established in case law, 10 years ago, and now everyone uses that as the script to go through it. So I'm frustrated for Idaho that we've wasted so much money on a guy who was never even a member of our state. You know, we've really been stuck with a huge heavy burden of $8 million, and we get to let this loser go back at us, and it's a bummer. And I really feel for my fellow Idahoans and what we have to go through, but I really appreciate that they've always been there for us, and I'm just. I'll stick with it. We'll fight as hard as we can, but I think this is just a little process here, and it's not going to turn up. And I'm hoping that we don't go waste a bunch more money on a case that's already been solved.
Did you talk to Bill Thompson, or did they call you? Did they know this was coming?
I got the sense that call was a collect call, very recent, and no, they didn't know. So that's not word. That's just how it was described to me. Individual called. It was like a call from prison, picked it up, and bam. Now, he said he did have a little backstory with working with the sister, so maybe there's a little bit of trust established there.
Oh,
But
whoa, Mike Baker. Mike Baker. That's all you, Bubba. I don't miss the important stuff. I don't like the weeds. They're itchy. I'm not missing the important stuff. Okay, tell me more, Steve.
that's how it was described to me. So I would think
Oh,
that
you're talking about the call with Mike Baker.
Get on it,
Mike
quick.
Baker, yeah.
Entin, you pick up what he's putting down, sir. I'm counting on you, baby. I don't mean to call you names like that, you little sweetheart. I'm an older lady. I'm counting on you, Bryan. Follow up on that stuff for me. I appreciate you. You always do follow up on things I got in my head. Always.
That's
He
how
got
he
a
described
collect
it.
call from Kohberger.
Mm-hmm. And
Okay.
he was pretty shocked, and he just told him, "This is what I'm doing. This is my plan." So that's why I'm reading into it. That I wouldn't be surprised if this was new to him as well, to Thompson
Yeah.
as well.
Sister's like, let's call this guy Bri. I'm going to send you his phone number, okay? You call him collect and you tell him, by God, you want that post-conviction relief. I'm your sister with the blue hair and I'm here for you.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so yeah, it's not like Bill Thompson saw that. But has he called you since? Have they called the families today to sort of be like, "Hey, don't worry," or "This is what we're going to do"?
We did get an email from, I believe, Lawtow County Court that basically just said this is the process that happens. Nothing to be concerned. We're not saying anything that was dropped in that write-up that concerns us.
If there, I mean, it sounds like there will probably be a hearing regardless. Would you guys go to the hearing, do you think? Or I guess it's still a ways
It's a
out.
good question. You know what? Probably just for the fact of honoring my community, honoring the process and everything that we've gone to, I'd probably show up just to be thankful for everything that's happened. And like I said, $8 million, that should be respected. How hard that the state fights for life. We really.
Did Bill say, I want to go retire, I'm too tired for trial, y'all handle it after I'm gone? Oh.
We put our foot down and we tried to make sure that this doesn't become a new normal here. And that means I probably need to show up at the court case, regardless if it's a petty thing or not.
How's everything going with the foundation?
Go, Steve. So if they make Kohberger go too, he has to look at you each and every time. Go.
Things are going really well. We've got to the point where we've gotten all the paperwork done, the 5013Cs and all that stuff is done. So now we have to really like hone down on finding the right case where we find a family that is got like a prosecutor or an investigator who's willing to reach out and talk to us and say, hey, all right, how do I use this money to find a lab? Here's my lab. Do you guys have a connection? So yeah, we're going through that.
And I'm here for it, because I would have, if the cops didn't let the truck get ruined, we could send some DNA your way, sir. So there are victims out there and their families who need your services. Bonnie Bell is a prime example of how this network works, of victims who are standing up and taking no more and making change for their loved ones. Hallelujah.
It's been very healthy for the girls to have something positive to work towards, to not just say that something good is going to happen out of something bad, but actually be making good happen. So Yeah, it's been really good. It's actually been a nice relief. It's probably been more therapeutic than talking on the couch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like you said, you're doing something. I'll put a link below to the foundation so people can
Thank
check it
you.
out. Is there anything else,
Murder Has a Name is the foundation.
Steve? I mean, are Christy and Olivia? You're always kind of the strong guy, but like, are they okay with with everything that happened today? I mean,
I think it was a little out of left field for some of the girls, just like, here we go again type stuff. Like the phones were really pretty hot today with a lot of communication. So, and they've been so focused on working on the nonprofit that it was maybe a little bit rough, but they're fighters. And Olivia's as smart as a whip. I was just on the phone with her 20 minutes before we talked. So, yeah, she's sending me new docs. It's just like it's that game again. Like all of a sudden you feel like you're behind the eight ball. There's information out there and you need to like get well informed and you're not sure where all this stuff is at and you don't really have a leader to be like, here you go, let me get you everything. You guys shouldn't have to go chasing through paywalls to figure
right,
out what happened to your child.
Oh,
right.
snap.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Certainly
Well, I
should
appreciate
not.
you, Steve. I'm sorry we have to keep having these conversations, but we'll see how this plays out soon.
Hey, I appreciate you and your audience and that people care. And I think this is the best way you can become a true crimer is when you follow the right people that's heart's in the right places and they're trying to work in a constructive manner to help.
Need some Z's. Do you know me? I've been waiting on that since they canceled the preliminary hearing. I've always been open, and I'm that juror who could have walked into that courtroom and changed my mind. Yes, ma'am. I'm not wishy-washy. They show me evidence, real evidence, I'll be there. But I've not seen any yet.
Society get better. And that's why we've always been, one of the people that we've talked to.
I appreciate that.
Thank
All right,
you.
I'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.
All right,
Later.
bye. As always, I appreciate Steve
What's
for
up next,
for taking the
Shannon Gray?
time. Look, these families, like when I reached out to
Wait,
Steve
this
to
is
do
the
the
wrong
interview,
one. Because that's
he
Shannon
was at work.
Gray. Shit, guys,
Ethan had in
sorry.
his hands. Now, you look at it and you say, okay, well, did the defense talk to him about it, right?
This is Shannon Gray, guys. For those of you who are not aware of who this is the attorney for Kay and Larry Woodcock. This is the attorney for Steve and Christy Goncalves, Idaho attorney, who has fought hard for both families, starting with Kay and Larry. Shout out, Shannon Gray.
His defense counsel talked to him about it, or did the prosecutor?
We may review him later, though. He is worth a watch, though. He's fought hard to try to get the gag order lifted and not to gag the parents from talking and, all these different things. He worked it out so Kay and Larry could go in and testify first at the trials in Idaho for Lori and Chad so they could sit in the courtroom for the rest of the trial, right? Instead of being kept out of courtroom till they were finally called to the witness stand. Shannon's like, no, we're not doing this today. These are victims' family members, and they have the right to sit in that entire proceeding and observe all of it if they so choose to do so. So shout out to attorneys like Mr. Gray who are standing up and representing families when it's needed. We're going to pull up the Cyray interview now. I got it, Rachel. I got a playlist. I just pulled the wrong one up. Sorry. That was my bad. I had 2 things of Entin on there, and one was meant for later. Where'd you go, Fiend? Did you get lost in space? Were you somewhere else and came back? Okay, let me get the correct one, guys. So sorry. It's this one. All right. Now we're cooking with Crisco, as my granny used to say. Y'all, I'm tired. Fiend, don't mess with me. Did you come to mess with me, Fiend? You could throw me some jewels, dude. He was on a very important call. Oh no. Do I think this has been the plan all along, like to buy more time for defense? I'm on the fence with my decision. I'm on the fence with some things because I just, I got that 12-minute video where I can't unsee Ann Taylor in court 2 months before trial was supposed to start, going through a laundry list of reasons why she's not ineffective counsel. And Kohberger sitting there soaking every freaking word of it up, like, yes, give me more, lady. I'm obsessed with you a little bit. So, with that in my back pocket and filed away for another day, I'm like, what's really going on here? Did Tipsy Turvy pay a visit to Kohberger and say, hey, there was untested hair in Ethan's hand, dude? Like, the internet supports you. These crazy ladies on the internet who love Dylan Mortensen, they're all in, man. They're all in. I went on their show. You should see it. It's crazy. Did that happen? What's the sister got to do with anything? She's facilitating Bryan calling Mike Baker at the New York Times, who is writing a book with Kevin Fixler from the Idaho Statesman. I live in an alternate universe called the Idaho 4 Effect. It gets a little wishy-washy and cray-cray here sometimes. We're unpacking it in real time. We don't know what's going to happen anymore. This case has never been predictable. I should say that. This case has never, ever been predictable. And once this train left the track, it never came back. Yes, please hit the like button, as my friend Fiend reminds y'all. All right. Fiend, behave yourself now and make sure your act right's here. I'm kind of irritable today, dude. A little irritable. Back hurts and shit. I'm going to let Bryan talk for a minute. I know, Fiend. I know. I had to pay bills today, dude. I get you. I had to be a big girl today and take care of business. Well, I had to take care of the business so we can keep the lights on, right? All right, guys. Y'all, I'm going to start this. I got to go make sure the puppies come back in. They've been out for a minute. It's still hot in Florida. It ain't dark 30 yet. It's middle of the day. Rachel, I don't know what Bill's thinking. We're so mad at him right now. All right, here we go.
I want you guys to hear the whole thing in this episode of Bryan Entin Investigates. Cy, it's nice to see you, Steve. Thank you for being here as always. And I know Olivia's going to join us in a little bit. She's dealing with the baby. But I wanted to continue this conversation.
All with her baby. What you noticed? What have you noticed? You're making me nervous. I don't see a message.
From the time you just had on News Nation. And I know, Steve, that you and Olivia wanted an opportunity to be able to talk to Cy about some of the information that he has, since he was a defense witness for Bryan Kohberger. I just wanted to ask one question before I throw it over to Steve, though, and it kind of plays off some of what you said on News Nation, Cy. You talked about Bryan Kohberger potentially being at the house before. Can you elaborate on that a little more? I mean, are you able to, and I know it's not exact, but are you?
I need a message. I thought you said you sent me a message. What do I need? You've noticed I need a message? Okay. We're going to let Feral Friend do his thing. Hi, DJs, allegedly. I'm a true crime. Did I do that right? Welcome in. Welcome in. How are you?
Able to say whether he was actually inside the house?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be a little bit more responsive on these questions. And
okay, because you're on a better platform now. We get it. You were just trying to convince them that, well, we came, we saw, we went. So remember when he was alluding to being in the house, being on the property? Now he's going to get a little more in detail about what that actually meant.
Drag it out a little bit. So if I'm going on and on, stop me.
Yeah, you can do that on this. We have unlimited time, so
look,
feel free.
Bryan.
Yeah.
Steve, look, these reporters are doing this family a solid for a change, because social media is not doing them any favors. So hats off to you guys for doing that for them and giving them answers that maybe the prosecutor refused to do. We can't take everything Cy's saying to the bank as gold, right? He's an expert with his own opinion based on his own analysis. What about the FBI, right? Can he shred them? Can he shred them because Idaho investigators didn't ask for more from the FBI?
And 100%, like I'll make myself available to the family, by the way, 24/7. Like if you guys have follow-up questions going
Nice.
forward, by all means. When I heard that you guys wanted to have this conversation, I actually it meant a lot to me, and I was like, oh, finally, I can talk to the victim's family because I've spent my entire career advocating for victims' families. I've done a lot of stuff with parents.
That's more than we can say for Tipsy Turvy. I'm not, saying that this is yay for Cy for doing this, speaking up for families. It's just doing what's right, in my opinion, for a family who can't seem to get answers from the prosecutor as to what really went on. And it seems like a lot more was going on than the prosecutor was even willing to explore for some reason, which you have to ask, what's wrong with you, Idaho, for doing that? That's ridiculous. I'm going to call you straight out. If any of this can be proven, and as more documents, is that why we're not unsealing these documents in a timely fashion? They'll see the lack of investigation even along the data line. Really, Bill Thompson? Do you want me to go there with you? Florida really ticked me off by letting Casey Anthony walk because they were ridiculous. You ain't no different.
Of murdered children, and this is a very hard place that it started out trying to be at, and I really appreciate you guys reaching out. And anytime you have questions, I'll give you my direct number. By all means, feel free. You guys can hit me up anytime.
Thank you.
But what I want to cover on that piece is, when we start looking at the house itself, there's a couple different things we can look at. AT&T has a very specific report, and it's called Loctobor. And I know it sounds like a silly word. It's LOCDBOR, Loctobor, and it's location database of record. This will include estimated latitude and longitudes, and they range from 25 meters out to 3,000, 30,000 meters, so they can get very big. Historically, there's accuracy issues with this report. So if you just take all the data and you throw it on the map and you think that's accurate, you're going to have a lot of problems. A really good example in this case is there's a time when Bryan goes up to Seattle, and one of his Loctobor hits shows him in New Orleans. So that gives you an idea of the accuracy issues. There's two factors, and like I said, I'm going to pile on a lot of data for you guys. The next thing that comes into play is the actual handset, the phone itself. iPhone actually restricts a lot of third-party apps and even the mobile carrier to some points of getting precise location data, which a lot of people don't realize. If I try to ping a phone, that phone ping can actually be screwed up by Apple itself to, instead of getting this nice, neat little GPS, I get.
We didn't notice Need Some Z's. They made it clear when they decided to unseal the documents. They said they were going to go in reverse order back through Ada County, and then it will shift to the Latah County documents. They laid that out in the very beginning when they laid out the way they were going to unredact everything.
This 5,000 meter GPS range, and you can be anywhere in that 5,000 meters. Samsung, on the other hand, is a very chatty phone. It's preloaded with all kinds of silly.
Your Samsungs are very chatty. I don't like that. I don't like that because I got a Samsung. I don't like the chattiness of it all. I got rid of all those stupid preloaded apps. I don't like that shit either. So he is saying important things, guys, like this location database record. So far, he's saying there's issues with the accuracy of that. Remember when we were watching the interview before, a phone's in Seattle, but it's showing it's in New Orleans. Now he's saying that was Kohberger because he never said which phone it was when we reviewed him last night. Remember, it was a phone's in Seattle, but it's also pinging in New Orleans. Like what? Or showing that it's in New Orleans, GPS stuff.
Apps and ridiculous monitoring. If anybody's ever had a Samsung, when you first power that thing up, like there's 100 apps on that thing. It's good for law enforcement because when we get a phone that's a Samsung phone, it's typically very chatty on the network. We're going to see a lot more connectivity. Samsung's also unique that if I do certain things with certain apps that require location data, such as GPS or navigation, that accuracy from the 3,000 or the 5,000 meter ranges come down to 25 meters. And in this particular case, if you look at those precise measurements, there's probably 5 that land directly on what would be the living room of the house. Like the latitude, longitude is the physical house itself. And, if you put the house back on the map and you map those, the hits are inside the house.
Need Some Z's, is that you say he can't confirm it, that Bryan was literally in the house. He can't physically confirm it. He didn't see it, but he says the data shows that he was. So what does that mean? Can another expert dispute that? You have to take it all with a grain of salt. I'm not going to go here and go, oh, hammer down, size brought the business, because I haven't seen the business. I'm just here to hear him out. A lot of us speculated Kohberger was at that house multiple times, possibly inside that house, moving about at all the big giant parties when nobody even knowing who the hell the guy was, creeping around, mingling with all the rest, learning the lay of the land. It's not a stretch to think that could have happened. So, can it prove beyond a shadow of a doubt? Doubt it. Meters, accuracy, there's all kind of things going on, right? But he's pretty fucking close, wasn't he? Pretty fucking close.
Now,
So let me just, I'm going to let you keep explaining. I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So, because I haven't heard this before. So you're saying based on the data you saw, the latitude, longitude for Bryan Kohberger's Samsung was in the living room?
the AT&T derived latitude longitude from the AT&T's network that it estimates a location, it lands in the house. And it's a 25.
The AT&T lands him in the house, his own damn phone service. Huh. Yes, Fiend, don't you know? Where you been? Where you been, Fiend? Yes, he said, I'm guilty. He signed the plea deal. The judge asked him 1,000 questions, and he's like, yes, yes, yes. He signed everything away, too. I understand, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. All that's in place. But here we are with a little post-conviction relief process happening here. Sounds to me like the data just did, if Sai is correct. Yes, ma'am. You can't prove he wasn't in there either. Yes, ma'am.
5-meter range. So, we're talking 75 feet. So it could be anywhere in the house on any floor. It could technically be outside the house. It could be on the property, but it's showing in the immediate area. My personal opinion is when I look at those and I map what's happening before and after, and I'm looking at all the other evidence, I think these are accurate locations. And, that's, and to Steve's point earlier, this is why court, I think, is so critical for this case. That's an argument to be had in front of the jury where the defense would come in and say, hey, you can't reliably.
No shit, that's not accurate. Need some Z's. He's talking about multiple things at once. Not just, I reviewed Bryan Kohberger's one data set and this is what I saw. He's reviewing a lot of things, apps in the background, GPS location. You got to pay attention. There is an instant that he can show when Kohberger was literally in Seattle, but his GPS showed his phone was in New Orleans, Louisiana. Problem right then and there. But he can also show you a lot of other things Kohberger was actually doing. So we're also going to we got to pay attention, y'all. Take notes. That guy on the bottom is the victim's father, Ted who. Stop it right now, whatever you're about to do. Ted who? Before I get upset now. We don't do that around here. This is the victim's father. The guy on the bottom. Steve Goncalves, the father of Kaylee Goncalves, murdered victim of Bryan Kohberger. Who the fuck is Ted and what do you mean?
Say this and the prosecution would say, here's why. When done right, I feel that they're reliable.
So when you say accurate locations, you mean you believe based on your expertise that he was inside the house on previous occasions?
So I'll qualify a handful of things tonight. And again, Steve, any questions that later on, by all means, hit me up. I'm more than happy to pour over anything you want to. One of the things the defense did with me early on in this case is they got outside of the geolocation data and they said, hey, as a former homicide cop, as a homicide sergeant, as a supervisor that supervises these type of investigations, we're interested in anything you can find. And they poured tons of data over. Why that's important too.
And it's like, can you prove this guy was out stargazing?
Is it's not just the phone stuff. There's a lot of stuff inside the crime scene and things that I reviewed in the crime scene. I 100% believe that the offender, who is Bryan Kohberger, like there is no alternative theory in my head at this point. He's been in the house before. I think there's absolutely no doubt he was familiar with the basic layout of the house. I'm not saying he was intimately familiar with the entire house, but he had a working knowledge of the house. The house is laid out very weird. I've been through the house. The path that was taken, what we see is what occurred in that house, him coming and going from the neighborhood, there's prior knowledge. There's no doubt in my mind that there's prior knowledge. So that also helps support some of this. One thing I want to kind of circle back to, Bryan, and Steve, you'll find this in my report, and it took me weeks to get the defense to allow me to put this in my report. They didn't want me to put it in there. There are third-party databases that collect what is called MAID ID, so mobile advertiser ID. And you guys have all experienced this where you've searched for, I don't know, a pair of shoes. You've Googled a new pair of shoes you think you wanted. And then 2 days later, you're surfing the internet and some ads are popping up for those shoes. That's based on your mobile advertiser ID.
It could be just a chance that an expert got hired to see if this guy did it, look at his data, tell me what you see. And he's like, oh boy. He reserved the right to change his mind as more information became available, and it did. And he kept digging and kept digging. He's like, oh, holy hole. What do we have here? This girl is the sister of the victim, Kaylee Goncalves, the daughter of the man on the left, Steve Goncalves. She's got a TikTok. She ain't scared. She ain't scared of no fiend. She'll come for you, fiend.
Unique number, but there's third-party databases that collect that. And typically when they're collecting that type of information, it gets a latitude, longitude stamp with a timestamp. So we can actually see. Law enforcement can access those databases. You have to have a search warrant. There's a process to go through. In my report, what you'll find is it's towards the very end of it, I actually lay out that, hey, there's more than reasonable suspicion here to believe that this phone has been inside the
Don't upset the vibe, fiend.
residents or very close to the residents on these dates. Typical criminal investigation, we would go look at these third-party databases, pull all the mobile advertiser ID data from those dates. Forget the 13th. His phone is off. We're never going to get his phone in or near the house on the 13th, and that's where all the focus was. But if we go back to pattern of life and we pull these other dates leading up to the crime, I feel incredibly confident that they're going to get precise GPS. Now I'm talking 3 meters, so now we're talking less than 10 feet at, around, and very close to the house on those different occasions. The idea that I put this in my report and said, this is the kind of follow-up I would expect to have, and nobody ever, I fully expected as soon as I dropped that report that January, that by February, March, we were going to see discovery on this new data. They didn't even look at it. They didn't even bother with it. It's incredible.
If they looked at it, they wouldn't have understood it. We heard that in court when they were talking about a JSON file and how you can edit it and how like that was some kind of weird anomaly. It's like, that's what the file's for. That's what you use it for. I mean, it was very confusing to the audience, but
Fiend, this chat don't like it when victims' families are made fun of in any capacity, like for real, legit. We're not doing that here. So I'm gonna have to ask you to stop or leave. Come on, man, be cool. Don't do that here. There's other channels to go troll today. They're literally, it's Defense Diaries live. Who's live? Let me go find you somebody. Hold on. Are you bored, buddy? Andy Cops is live. Go on over there and mess with her. She's got something for you. Go on.
the lack of knowledge inside that courtroom at certain times was very frustrating to me. And I mean, I wouldn't hire my own people. I would Shadow Dragon. I've said it multiple times. They have OS lint. They were like, Steve, the same emails they're using in this court case are the same emails we're tracking back to your children. But we're not doing it for free. They weren't like a Sirene. They're like, I think there was a 30K. Don't quote me on that, but
if you would listen, Fiend, you would know they're ready for trial. They have never backed down from taking Kohberger to trial. Kohberger is the one who we need out. Steve Goncalves ain't scared of a trial. So again, you be nice. These are victims' families up here. We're not doing it.
That's what my mind wants to tell me. It was like 30K. And they said, we're not giving it up on a case this big. We keep doing, because we're highly in demand. We're not going to take a case this big and not get stiffed with the payment. We're not making that our message. But they literally said, we can literally tell you that he's been connected to these people through his fingerprint of his emails and the things that he was doing online. It's a whole science that they have out there and touch points, and they put it all together. He was very confident, and he said they're refusing to give me any money. They want to do it for free. And to that point, the Cellbrite, the Barnharts ended up didn't have to do it, but they did it for free, just like Siren. So there was these decisions being made, not over the right decision. It was, I don't know what it was, but evidence was being missed in a case that the world was watching, and we can do better. We can learn from our mistakes, and we can do better, and that's why we're here right now.
And Steve, if you think about it, let's push that price up to 50K. When you look at the amount of money that was spent on this investigation and bang for the buck, spend the 50K. It's probably the best you're going to spend on this case because it's going to show that I think those concrete connections. I do have a question. I think you guys might be interested in this. I believe that the girls went to the A&W. There's a little A&W and a little store.
I know exactly. Yeah, right down the street.
That's the A&W where the screenshot car was, Rach, too. And the one that one. That's the same one, right? That you were telling me about earlier?
I think this was a pretty routine thing that they hit on a regular basis. And I'm really curious to some of the background there. But one thing that I've always said is missing, and it's really bothered me. Has anybody ever approached you guys on what's called VICAP? Have you ever heard that word VICAP?
Yes.
Or it's basically a history of the victims to everything of where they shop. If they order pizza, where they order pizza. Has anybody ever approached you in this investigation to try to
Closest we got to they were scared once I hired a lawyer. They just stopped talking to me, and my lawyer said they'll answer questions, but to the point of they're not going to be witnesses because they didn't want the gag order to fall over. I told my lawyer I want the ability to speak on behalf of my child. If anything comes to the point where they're going to put a gag on me, then they can't talk to me. And I had nothing to hide. It was just, you're not going to control me like an asset. I'm going to speak on my daughter's behalf, or I'm going to jail, one or the other. So, yeah, we never got there. We got to the passwords. We got to usernames. They hit Olivia up. Olivia got into the cloud ID. Like, Olivia hacked. It's fake. Like, we know the passwords.
I knew my sister's password on her Apple device, but it was two-factor authentication. So it would send a code to her device, and they wouldn't. And still to this day, they've not handed over her phone because they say that they can't get into it. But regarding VICAP, and I apologize if I got that wrong, no, we've never ever heard that. We've never been familiar with that at all.
You would remember it's about almost 300 questions, and it's a deep dive in any information. And this has nothing to do with the gag order. There's no reason they wouldn't do that. The reason I'm asking is there's certain things that would come out in their normal pattern. Like, hey, if they ran to the convenience store, what convenience store would they run to? Is it kind of they met friends or everybody was going? Is there a place that they would converge? And we're getting back into the reliability of the GPS. So
He's gone, guys. I timed him out. My mods always have my back, but I let them know already. I got this. I got this one. It's good. And you're not doing that here. You're not upsetting people by being ridiculous. That we're not doing that childish shit today over here. All right. For those of us who came to listen and try to figure out what's going on here with this case, I appreciate y'all. Again, hit the thumbs up, get the content out there, fix the algorithm. Hashtag Kohberger is taking over the streets. It's always been that way. Always. Get this into the algorithm. Thank y'all.
Don't want to get too far on a branch saying I know this happened, but there are multiple times that the device, Kohberger's device, is in the area of the house, and then it moves to the parking lot of that A&W.
You're remembering it correctly. She said the damn shit right there in court and in court documents. She said it didn't land. The guy was a PhD student. Come on. Nice try, Ann. That was your small bowl of spaghetti? Nice try.
Same time, multiple residents of the house go to the A&W rubric. So there's times where I can actually see and that to me, that's what we call a collision.
Y'all are welcome. Here's the thing. I know that dude for a long time. He's a Delphi person. Fiend is Fiend. Fiend can go somewhere else and go bug the other people. Andy knows him well. Andy puts up with his little ass too from time to time, but she will do the same thing I just did and say, goodbye, Fiend. We've had enough today. Go find somebody else. He is not an Idaho 4 troll. He's just Fiend.
It's one thing to have devices in a general area, but when we see the two devices track together to a point and then track back,
thank you.
That's incredibly telling. So, the idea that nobody has come back to you guys and said, hey, let's talk about the A&W or some of the other friends it's just mind-blowing to me. So I can't agree with you enough. It needs to be changed. That's why I took this case. I'm hoping in any pain and trauma that I've caused you guys, I can't apologize. And I feel my sincerest respect and condolences on this thing. I couldn't imagine being in your guys' situation, having to go through this. And now it obviously coming full circle back. But at the same time, when I first looked at this case, my initial thought was this can never be the standard investigation that we see on cases like this. This can never be acceptable. Bryan and I were talking before you guys jumped on. After the plea deal, I actually, and against the defense, Ann was incredibly upset with me for doing this. But I've created a 1 day debrief that I've been going around the country for free, providing to law enforcement. And for you guys, hopefully this helps a little bit. We've had an incredible response from law enforcement. The service you guys got on this case, the average law enforcement agency is appalled by. Since November, when I started teaching this course, we've had 300 agencies throughout the United States attended. So it's resonating. We're getting a lot of endorsement of.
And this is what his book is about for law enforcement. Huh. And the blue light, was it the blue light show over in Europe he's attending? He's like, look here, we got an issue with this FBI stuff, guys. There's flaws, there's this, there's data missing, there's all these things. And here's what we can do to fix it. Here's my, well, we'll see. Make it better. Make it better. Make the data more accurate because it's going to be needed going forward.
Yes, we need to change these things. But it's really interesting to look at that, just how much fell through the cracks on this case.
So I have a quick question, and I hope that it comes across the right way. So my question is separating the murders and the burglary from the stalking. And as we know, the state never picked up stalking charges, but the FBI currently still has an active investigation. Do you think that some of those things were not picked up by the state because of this separation? Or do you think that this would have been something that would not have driven a charge or would not have been evidence of a charge that they were not actively pursuing?
I am guessing. This is my opinion of things that I've seen. I'm happy sharing this opinion to whoever, but there's a lot that needs to be filled in for it to land where I say 100% this is what's happening. I'm about 90% here. They back themselves into a corner, into a no-win situation, because the problem the FBI has with stalking right now is they cannot prove stalking in the work product that they do. It'll never hold up in court. In fact, I don't think a federal prosecutor would even take the case. So that's why we haven't seen the FBI proceed with that. Does the FBI have information right now, or potentially the ability to go get information to prove that case? 100%. But their problem that they have.
Tell me what that would be.
Well, it'd be that mobile advertiser ID. It would be mapping all of the AT&T records and looking at the pattern of life of Bryan over 6 months, where we see these routine travel patterns. We can see where he's going, what he's doing, how long he's stagnating there. Understanding pattern of life is everything for this case. The problem the FBI has is to make that stalking case, they're going to have to disclose or discover new evidence that never came out from the state of Idaho. And now you have these competing cases where you have a case that allegedly went through the entire process.
We had heard the FBI's case was not actually closed. So does the FBI know more about the data than they told Moscow because Moscow didn't ask? Moscow hasn't proven photographs, video of them in the same locations. It's weird, a little weird.
Process of
I gotta close my door. My grandbaby's acting a little rambunctious.
And never produced the evidence that's needed. And now for a federal case to all of a sudden say, oh, by the way, here's this other evidence. They've painted themselves into a corner that they can't explain.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I feel like there's two discoveries because I've actually heard almost everything that you've said already. That he was in that house, even waited in certain locations for extended periods of time of no movement. This wasn't the only house that he stalked. There was a loop that he was following, and there was a couple other places that he basically stood still for a certain amount of time. Just
Was it Madison Mogan or was it the house that chose the victim? I think it was the house that chose the victim, just like Danny Rawlings, the serial killer he was so into when he ran home to Mother's and went in the fucking basement and sat there all night at Christmas reading about Danny Rawlings and his use of his K-bars in his houses that backed up to the woods. I've lost connection. Will you just turn it off for a few minutes? Hey, can you guys hear me in the chat? Let me know. Uh-oh. I can't tell if y'all can hear me or not. Y'all can hear me? Because it says I've lost connection. I don't even know if I've got the video on pause, because I don't know if you guys can see it if I hit play, because it says I'm getting a notification that I have a lost signal. Froze for a second. Okay, hang on. Let me go make sure my grandson's not playing that thing right now. Hold on. Okay, I think we're okay. Hold on. Whoa. My screen look. All right, can y'all hear me again? I think we are good to go again. I'm not getting that same notification. Oh God, my Restream just went berserk. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't know what this is doing. There we go. Now it's straightened out again. Frozen. Yeah, see if it'll come back. Hold on. Give it a second. Am I still looking? There we go. Is it better? All right. And I'm not frozen anymore, am I? Y'all let me know in the chat. Now you can hear you now. Okay. Everything seems to be okay. I think I got the timestamp where we were at too. All right, let me get it pulled back up. Okay. The loop. Steve's like, there's the loop. He's going around, where they can see that he was. How can he see? Is that straight from the Celebrite stuff? Because remember, Heather Bernhardt said she was willing to send all that to Olivia Goncalves months ago when she was making her interview rounds. And we were like, yes, do it. Send it to her. And now they're comparing what they got in that Celebrite report from the Bernhardts to what Cyree is giving them in his cell data, GPS, all the things stuff. I would love to get Heather and Cy together and go, boom, y'all. Shakalaka boom. Let's do it. And they would paint a picture of Bryan Kohberger that would probably blow people away. Those Kohbergers would clutch their pearls and pass slap out, hyperventilate, and need the 911s of it all. Okay. They're at the same spot, guys, so I'm going to let it roll, and I'm going to mute out for a second and go check on my grandson, and I'll be back in a second. I'll be listening, though.
Loop that he was following, and there was a couple other places that he basically stood still for a certain amount of time. Just telltale signs that this person wasn't shopping, and
with him standing still like that, like non-moving, remember in the documents we have reviewed in the other material that the girls from WSU, this guy's outside my house, I had to call my husband. They thought it was Bryan Coat. Yeah, what are you doing out there, Creepy McCreeperson? You wasted no time stalking the towns. As soon as you got there and didn't have mother anymore, she went on Reddit and made a real big post about how her grown son, for the first time ever, was leaving home and going all the way across the country to Washington to pursue a criminology degree. She wrote about it on Reddit. And then Daddy goes with him, and Dad's in the parking lot. Hi, I'm so-and-so. This is my son. Could you be his friend? Friend's like, hey, dude, buy some swim shorts. You can come to that cool party we're going to have soon. He's like, okay, thank you. He goes to the party and creeps out the girls at the party. That's Bryan Kohberger. And he's running around at night stalking everybody instead of stargazing like he claimed he was. He tried to use the stars for an alibi. Shame on him. Freak.
They cross-correlated to bank records and the ATMs and all that stuff. They had some stuff, the basic old school investigations they had down, but the technical was almost like they outsourced it to the FBI. And then when the FBI were like, we're not so sure that our discovery is your discovery or our investigation is your investigation, that there was these huge gaps.
Is that the parallel investigation everybody spoke of? Holy hell. Why couldn't they dance together? Why couldn't they sit down? We heard they had a whole ass room where they met up every day. We hear that's how it works. Task force involving detectives and FBI agents. Everybody sits down at the end of the day and goes, here's what I got, here's what you got. Let's put it all together in a nice little package and get this done. What are y'all doing out there, FBI, if you're not working with law enforcement the way you say you are when they ask for it? Like, well, we don't know if that's your investigation or if it's ours, so we are like, muddy waters. When did you decide that? After you took IGG and went through back doors and broke every fucking law that the other people can't, like Othram cannot do that? That's why they want your DNA one swab at a time with the help of Tricia from Web Sleuths. Because they're tired of the FBI taking work from them. Don't miss it.
In it. And when they went to go to make a case, it wasn't so clear. So as a father, I'm like, I'll fill in the gaps if I can, especially when it comes to technology. And it was an eye opener. It was so frustrating to sit there with a guy who looks like Santa Claus, who has his consciousness, his short-term memory on a piece of paper, and has no clue about technology, never will. And there's 4 lives in the bounce.
100%.
It's just scary.
I couldn't agree with you more. And, this is a big problem with the FBI. The FBI has a habit of coming in on these cases And where the problem happens is the FBI has access to things they can't get into court properly. They can't lay the foundation the way that state
Oh,
courts require.
oh,
And
ho, ho, oh, oh, they got access to things they can't get into court properly. Yeah, I know. Nanos has got some things to say about those guys too, but I've always known that, and that's a problem. And the FBI does know that. They don't want us to know their capabilities, and we're like, "What? You're doing what? You can do what with? What are you spying on me for, dude? I ain't done nothing." Y'all ready for it? FBI knows you're not. They know it. They're like, yeah, we can give you some stuff and call it an assisted in your investigation, but we can't give you all of it because that's a little much for society to handle at the moment because we obtained it illegally. They would go cray cray if they knew what we were doing.
but they still proceed. The IgG, I will tell you, the investigative genetic genealogy on this case is overlooked at how impactful it was. As soon as they made the decision to go with investigative genetic genealogy, this case was doomed from a civil perspective because they had to go outside
Thank you, Cyray. Thank you.
of policy. They had to hide things. And now once they got the hit, you can see it clear as day. The rest of the investigation is how do we hide the IgG? Because we don't ever want to talk about the way that
I'm so glad he's saying this out loud. I'm not mad they got Bryan Kohberger, y'all, but I'm not cool with how it was done because I know it's not cool. No matter how you look at it, it's not cool to test a glove found 2 miles from a crime scene that you have no clue is even a part of that crime scene. But you're going to go investigate that person anyway without their knowledge and then go knock on their door. And what if they get what? How do you know they're going to believe you when you say, no, that's not me? It's your DNA. It's your DNA. Does your alibi check out? Will your phone data align with your alibi? Did people see you? Are you sure? Yeah, that y'all need to question some things out there. We have to to protect ourselves under the Constitution.
for me as an old school investigator that drives me crazy is Bryan Kohberger's vehicle and his name are setting in a report that entire time. All they had to do is follow up and get a sample of his DNA. If they would have done that and stopped trying to rely or over rely on this technology of the IgG.
Yeah, the second WSU realized they had a white launcher in the parking lot of that. Yeah, they should have called them immediately. They should have started surveilling this guy immediately just in case. Hell, they were following kids in Moscow trying to get cigarette butts. Why not follow the guy next door, so to speak, with a car that looks like the one we're looking for? Oh, and we pulled up his ID and he's got damn bushy eyebrows too. Why not start surveilling that guy right then and there, that moment? Why not get his straw from the cup or his vegan pizza crust he threw away like Rex Heuermann? Why not knock on the door and say, sir, we're investigating a homicide in Moscow, Idaho. Can we swab your cheek? Your car matches the one near the scene. You could clear yourself real quick if you would just do that for us. So, but why didn't we do all that? Did we know about him? In my mind, we used IgG because we had no fucking clue who it was, which means WSU didn't do nothing like they said they did.
Produced. I think this is a completely different case, but they crossed a line with IgG. They knew they crossed the line, and everything we see after that is nothing more than smokescreen trying to hide what actually happened to identify him.
I just can't figure out what Cyray means by he was already on the radar. How did they tell them, but like later than we think they did? Did they one day go, you know what, we probably should have reported that white car, Shit. Did it come in much later than they actually claim it did? What's happening? Because the PCA says you found Bryan Kohberger through a tip from WSU, but you were going to go into court and say it was just a tip because you weren't allowed to say it was IgG. Legit fact. They were not allowed to go to court and say IgG. It's just a tip. Why not tip from WSU officers who spotted a car in the parking lot? Why not say that? Because it didn't happen? Huh.
I'll go a step further and be careful with this. I wish my lawyer was here. The IgG was done in a scripted fashion of it works. We know how it does. They told me, the people that I've been around said, if we get it tossed out, it led to the dad. It never led to BK. And that's by design. It never goes to him. It goes to his father in the trash, established the law, and then we got a warrant and we got the cheek swab. We got it down. IGG is not going to ever be in court because it's a tip, and this is established standard, and we're not going to let a little podunk Moscow make court law or state law or any kind of law. This is
precedents, Steve. Precedents, as Sleuthy Goosey and I predicted 2.5 years ago in a Twitter space. Yes, sir, we know. You preach it, sir. Podunk, Idaho. We're not that fucking stupid, are we? Us simple-minded folks ain't that stupid after all. We're like, yeah, come at us. We'll show you. Florida put 2 to death in one day just the other day.
Never going to get into a courtroom because we have these established practices, and that is what it is. And, you know, if you call a tip on a black SUV that you've seen that has some kind of explosives in it and something, and you want to give that tip, well, that doesn't go into court either. So I get where they're going with it, and the greater good. I'm just a dad trying to make sure that my daughter and the system gets better, but I do see some red flags, and I know we had the right guy, and we just made it all difficult for everyone. We just made it so difficult for everyone because nobody knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think it's difficult for people to grasp that we can stand behind his guilt, but not understand or agree with everything that the prosecution and state did.
Right.
And it makes it difficult for us to be put in a position where we are having to defend the state's case that we don't fully understand. And there's a lot of missing pieces for us. And that's the only way that we can justify his guilt. So it puts us in a difficult position of being like, man, you guys are really making us fight for your work that you did, that you yourself won't stand behind. That's a conversation that we have a lot as a family.
Yeah, I can imagine. And
Jet, that's the famous 1112 video from King Road. The neighbors of Kaylee, Madison, Santa, and Ethan. They live right next door. The thud, the dog barking, the creepy little Elantra white car, suspect vehicle 1, suspect white vehicle 1. Creeping around out there. Molly, the DoorDash driver, bringing the delivery, getting out, walking around because she's lost and don't know where she's at. She figures it out eventually. 3-point turns can be seen on camera. Linda Lane footage from right behind the King Road home to the right, the apartments back there, leaked onto the internet because the landlord there sold it to a chick who emailed him, and she sent it to other people, and it has been out there forever. A screenshot from 1112 was released by Steve Goncalves after that. It says, hold on, we do have that car somewhere else on camera other than that leaked Linda Lane footage that y'all are all tearing apart and claiming is not the white Elantra circling its prey that Firefly and I saw the minute she said, hey, look at this. And I had to get my bearings. I was like, help me out, girl. What are we looking at? Tell me what I'm looking at. She explained it. I'm like, oh, shit. And there's the white car circling its prey. 408, you duck down behind the buildings and the lights go out on the car. 408 is the last time we see that car at Linda Lane. The next time it's seen, it speeds away at 420 at a high rate of speed, captured on 1112 camera. Thank you, Jet.
You know, Steve, with what you said, and I hate to put it in these terms, but it summarizes exactly what you said. The end result justifies the means, right? It doesn't matter how we get to him through IGG because we have all of these bailout plans that we feel we can protect ourselves. Anytime law enforcement takes the idea or the process or the methodology that the end result can justify the means, we're in trouble. Because what happened with that is they created the situation, they realized how impactful it was now, and now the next 4 months of investigation is nothing more.
Jed, I actually have a lot of those videos on shorts and videos on the channel. They're all there. We got all these different footages. You're talking about Linda Lane? Oh, yeah, that was leaked a long time ago. What's his name? Firefly, I can't remember what that dude's name was. It starts with an F. The guy, oh God, I can't remember his name. The guy who owns Linda Lane apartments there. He sold it, allegedly sold that footage for $1,000. Yeah.
Them trying to hide what they did at the beginning. And that's why we see the phone records were never analyzed, because they didn't need the phone records. The phone records for AT&T were nothing more than a smokescreen.
Because there was Linda Lane focused on the parking lot too, right? And there was the dumpster Linda Lane. I forgot there was 2 Linda Lanes. Yeah. The dumpster Linda Lane and the weird guy throwing something in the dumpster.
So that they could say, oh, look, we got this tip, we followed up on the phone, we found this, and oh, that led us over here. The phone records were never gathered as a true investigative tool because they already have the narrative written. And whatever aligned with that narrative because of IGG, they brought in, and anything that contradicted that narrative, they eliminated. A really good point on this is they committed in the first search warrant to Bryan driving east on 270. Everything, and it repeats itself, on 50 different search warrants, that he traveled east on 270. Bryan Kohberger was never on Highway 270 that night, ever.
Da-da-da-da-da. That's not his car seen at the pot shop. What's the name of the pot shop? It's just a white car, because we've seen that video. So it's a white car. I don't know what kind of white car. I can't even be positive that's his car on 1112, but it looks a lot like it, right? Linda Lane looked a lot like it as it circled its prey back there until it's disappeared at 408 into the shadows.
He took a route north of the airport. He actually crossed 95 north of Moscow, and then he dropped back down south on the east side of Moscow. And that's why he ends up on Indian Hills, is he actually came from the east.
Firefly, I need to drop you a link. I feel like Indian Hills. Why is he over there? What's going on? We were on the maps going, what the hell? Make it make sense in our head as to why he would even be on that road. If he's just, did he go the back way into the neighborhood from there? What's happening here? Y'all, we went deep with all the information we could possibly find. Explaining a few things for me there, sir, and I appreciate it.
And he did that because he's smart enough to know about the cameras. What drove me crazy in this case is when you see him go back. And by the way, the reason he went south is he panicked.
Do y'all remember the video, Firefly? Doc did it, and he won't put it back up. I don't know why. Black Hawk Down. The drive from Pullman to Moscow. And all the cameras you and I identified along the way because of that video. Remember Architect's thingy? I still have that somewhere. The cannabis shop, Floyd's. Wasn't it Floyd's? So Cy says he didn't. Yeah, Firefly. Hold on, I gotta shut my door. My grandbaby just went amok again. Okay, he's saying, remember when the early information came that according to Cy, Bryan went the different direction, 7 minutes worth. And I'm like, well, what did that guy do? Go down and bust a Yui and turn the phone off, thinking that would throw everybody off, and then went back the other direction toward Moscow? It was obvious by that one statement to me he went the opposite direction than toward Moscow. Now, he didn't, though. He did go toward Moscow, but he goes north of the airport. So allegedly, that's what they're saying, Firefly. He was never on that highway headed to Moscow. So the cameras that capture a white car along the way is not Kohberger, because he took the alternate route, knowing there were a lot less cameras north of the airport, dropping back down onto Indian Hills Road, avoiding a lot of that. I got you clocked, dude, because I've been all over that map since day one. All over it. I know exactly where I'm at now. Okay, let's go. Now I got to figure out that route home and that Snake River four-way stop dirt road shit going down. We're clocking you, Bryan Kohberger, and a lot of us have been really clocking you for real for a real long time, sir. And I'm coming hard. I love to tear down a defendant over here than an actual person from the internet. I like to go with the defendants because they deserve it. This guy said I did it.
Dylan saw him. He saw Dylan. Reasonable minds would say 911 is being called.
Now, they're doubling down on he made that eye contact with Dylan Mortensen. I tried to point that out in some of her earlier statements. She said, I put my head out again, and then he turned back, but she wasn't sure if he saw her that time when he turned back. But when he came toward her, they made eye contact. I was also told I was wrong when I heard the girl in the 911 call say I'm over at the Whites. That's not what she said. Yeah, that's exactly what she said. The Whites apartments. So, I'm now it's all, some things are coming together, right? Some things are coming together. Let's see. He was trying to make it look like he approached from the east. Yeah. Yes. I'm Bryan Kohberger. I'm not as stupid as y'all think I am. I took my phone for a reason, and maybe one day I'll tell you why. Data wiping tools and all, I got to test them.
And you can see in the video when he leaves, he's leaving in a hurry. If he drives back that same route, he's driving towards where Moscow PD is responding from. He's going to go right back towards the police department. So he has to go down south. When you look at 6 months worth of his records, he doesn't have activity down south. He doesn't know 95 south of Moscow.
Okay, so when you leave that house, you will go right back toward the police department. You go out the back way, so to speak. You're going the long way around through the countryside. And of course, there's a lot less cameras out there. Now, what was the name of the locations out there? There was a couple of shops out there. What was it? What type of shop was that picked him up allegedly on the way out of Moscow before he disappeared into the darkness? Was it a machine shop? Oh my God, I gotta go back to the documents and look at the actual name of that particular location. Was that real, right? Indian Hills is near the police station. He was cruising, pursuing police location. They're right there. Yeah. But on the way out, he took a whole different route going back. But he came in. It was a lot quicker to come in the way he did versus the way he left, because that's a longer route, right? Much more time involved. Was he pedal to the metal and taking a risk on getting pulled over? We know he can't drive. He getting pulled over all the time. Even trying to go home with daddy, for the holidays, he got stopped twice in one state. Indiana, of all places. That's weird. And they're like, oh, cool, you're just riding along. Yeah, what happened back at home? Yeah, okay, bye now. It's Indiana. Have a good day.
Gets about 12, 13 miles outside of Moscow. He pulls over. There's a good gap there, which has always been a concern to me, where he sits there for probably 10 minutes.
Oh.
He powers his phone back on. He goes into navigation mode.
There it is. The power back on where he sat for the 9, and we were guesstimating 9+ minutes sitting there powering everything back on. We think we know where that location was at, sire. Were we correct? According to documents, we didn't pull it out of our ass. We examined documents.
And we see the route back.
It's crazy dark too. So the audience might not know what it's like out here in Idaho. You get out in that farm community, there's no lights. We don't have street. It's dark as anything. Your headlights are all you have and high grass. So it gets if you're not prepared for that, you're not going to be able to figure out where you're going. And without a phone, if that's your primary source of navigation, you're driving around like an idiot, for a certain amount of time.
Well, then, like I said,
I wonder if there's data to show he ever drove like toward Moscow. And then is there any evidence of him ever leaving Moscow and driving that route to test it, right? Or was that a one-off? That was the first time ever. Let me get my GPS out. I don't want to get lost in the darkness into the tall weeds. Huh. Or did he ever test it out before, right? He tested out the route in, according to Cy.
We've got 6 months of records. I've got a mapping system. I can put everything in there. I can hit a play button, and I can watch his phone for 6 months going around the map. What you see that morning of him coming back to Pullman, you never see in the prior 5 months of records. That's the first time he's ever done that route. And then within 48 hours, he's doing the exact same route again. And that's the last time you'll see him do that. You give me the layest of...
That's concerning and odd. Pattern of life and all. That's really odd.
Late jurors, I can connect the dots there to have them see exactly what's happening. And right after he completes that route, he goes down to Lewiston, right down to the Snake River. He's there for less than a minute or two.
Hang on.
Prepared for that, you're not going to be able to figure out where you're going. And without a phone, if that's your primary source of navigation, you're you're driving around like an idiot, for a certain amount of time.
Well, then, like I said, we've got 6 months of records. I've got a mapping system. I can put everything in there. I can hit a play button, and I can watch his phone for 6 months going around the map. What you see that morning of him coming back to Pullman, you never see in the prior 5 months of records. That's the first time he's ever done that route.
Mm.
And then within 48 hours, he's doing the exact same route again. And that's the last time you'll see him do that.
So within 48 hours, did he drive back to Moscow and then follow the same route back he took after the crimes? Right back to the Sneaky Snake River? Whoa. Kohberger. What are you doing?
I mean, you give me the layest of late
He's like, I was stargazing. My car will be seen in the countryside if you can recover any data at all. You'll find it. I was there in the countryside driving around stargazing.
jurors. I can connect the dots there to have them see exactly what's happening. And right after he completes that route, he goes down to Lewis.
Forrest, we had this running weird thing for the longest time. Everywhere we went, we saw Elantras. All colors, all years. There was one, the color of Xana's car discovered, and there was a key on the back of it. A lone key laying on the trunk. And I took one look at it and I said, does Xana say the Elantra is key? Xana told me the Elantra was key when I looked at that photo. The color of her car, but it was an Elantra. I was like, whoa, shit. Whoa, shit. The Elantra's key.
Then right down to the Snake River. He's there for less than a minute or two, and then he's right back to Pullman. Like, what's happening? Of course we know what's happening. So did
he drop the weapon into the Snake River 1 to 2 minutes? Just right? Is it sitting at the bottom of the Snake River? Has the currents moved it? We have a really swift river here called the Yellow River. It's one of the swiftest in the state. They do swift water rescue training up there for the military. That and the Shoal River, incredibly swift rivers. You learn to swim in those rivers, you're tough. Is it swift? What we got there, Rachel? How swift is the Snake River?
I'm with you guys on the frustration. My apologies. Like, you guys should never have been in that situation. This is an FBI issue, and I'll frame this piece. I don't put this out publicly very often. When the plea deal was reached, I contacted the FBI CAS team, and I actually told them, hey, I did a lot of the investigation here. I know what the cross-examination that you guys were going to be subjected to looks like. You name your place, I'll fly to you anywhere in the country, and I will give you the full debrief of what I saw on my side and how we could get better.
Oh, God. He knows people in the FBI. He's known them for years. It's not like they don't know who Cyray is. They know who Cyray is. They knew who Heather Bernhardt was. The FBI reached out to Heather Bernhardt because they got stumped in the Idaho 4 case. If the phone records and stuff, Google searches can stump them, Celebrite can help. If the data stumps them, can Cyray help? When you can't do IgG, though, Labs, we got you. Oh, damn.
They never returned my call. So, even reaching out saying, I'll give you as much insight from the defense perspective of this to be better prepared next time, they're just not interested. And the other thing that I will tell you guys just drove me crazy. Now that my report's out, your guys' last name is all over that report because I did an inventory. I put in, hey, here's what the phones were provided. And then I listed the phones by last names. The only last names in my report that were redacted are the FBI agents that worked on this case. So all of the victims' last names are in this report.
They are. I read it. It was a special agent redacted and his partner special agent redacted. Y'all remember them from when we read the document? It was special agent redacted and his partner special agent redacted because Idaho released documents and they had to play takesy-backsy. They're like, oh, FBI wants us to put their names in black. Why? Not proud of your cast report anymore?
Went out to the public with the last 4 digits of their phone, but the FBI agents get their last name redacted? Like, what is that? That is insane.
It's been happening a lot. It's really...
If you...
But hey, they don't mind being sources for mainstream media and such. They don't mind that at all. doors propped open, cameras smashed, things taken. Nano's this. We got leads. It's a cold case. We got more coming. We'll scratch some shit up in a minute. What doing? What we doing, FBI?
Record. If you ever want to know about some of the worst, we'll let you know, but I won't propagate them here publicly.
I just want to go back for a second to something you said, Sai. So with the A&W, which is that gas station right down the road from the house, so you're saying you mapped his phone and also, was it the victim's phones at the same time there?
Correct. And there's movement where they're all in the area of the house before that, and then we see it pop up over by the A&W, but they're together. They're at least mapping, and they're mapping not the exact same lat longs. They're just slightly off, but they're within meters of each other, which is, for me, that's a tall tale sign that we're getting better accuracy, because sometimes the system will default if there's a problem with the system, and everybody will get the same lat long ping for like a 5,000 meter radius. But all of the lat longs are identical. In this case, they're just slightly different. They're just a couple meters apart. And it's a pattern. It happens multiple times. There's also an incident, and it was the second. I'm going to screw these dates up, but I can give them to you guys later if it's important. It was the first weekend after school started, and I believe it was Kaylee and Maddie went to Pullman, and I believe there was some type of a sorority, maybe fraternity party, and it's in the apartment complex right next to Bryan Kohberger's apartment. And
Hmm. What date was that party? A sorority party? What was the date of that party? Huh.
at one point, Bryan Kohberger's phone moves over to that apartment complex as well. And that's rare. He doesn't typically hang out in that complex. But this is all the way going back in August, that first weekend after school started, the phones intersect in Pullman.
He got there in July, first week of July.
Yeah, the prosecution was doing the exact same thing. They were trying to take his phone activity and cross-correlate it with the other people in the family. They wanted to know who was in the house at a certain time because they wanted to plan the route to who was in there because they were trying to figure out who was the after. And Olivia can tell you the exact day that Kaylee moved in there. I think you said it was like May.
Yeah, into the King Road house. She did move in May.
Yeah, so other people speculated there was no one in the house or only Matt who was in the house. We've never tried to play the blame game. We don't care.
Well, we've always wondered if the girls were at the Grove. There's two Groves, isn't there? One in Pullman, one in Moscow. And the Grove pool party has been, even talked about in the docu-series. That's the one where his dad got him the invite, and he had to go buy swim trunks for it. I'm still trying to figure out when he honed in on Madison Mogan.
About that, who's to blame is BK, and we're holding him accountable. None of the victims. Like, another thing I appreciate you saying is no cleanup. We've really chased that down because they.
You did watch it. Good job, Steve. Good job. I got a thunderstorm popping off outside. Good job, Steve.
Like, they're literally driving these young girls to the point of they don't have a life anymore. So you're not true crime anymore. You're speculation, Hollywood fan fiction crap. And I would love for true crime to get back on focus and say, how do we make the world a better place? How do we make sure that people are coming together to actually have less murders and mass murders every single year?
How do we have less? By taking a look at what happened and what caused it, if we can understand it, and can we prevent it going forward, should be the focus.
That's something we should work towards, not this fan fiction stuff. So that's part of the reason why we're here today. This is why we've been so dedicated. That's why we made a charity. This is why we have Murder Has a Name. We're We're doing everything in these girls and these victims' names.
I'm gonna let it play for a second while I go check on these dogs and the weather situation. She's coming up, Firefly. Good. This is kind of like a blind review for me. I just clicked into parts of it earlier. You know what I mean? And so here we are. Y'all, thanks for coming in. Please hit the like button and get the content out there that Cyray is trying to tell a lot of people. Whether they believe it or not, hopefully they'll be open and listen. That's all we can ask for. But the families deserve to have their side and this expert side also be in the algorithm as much as Tipsy Turvy's stuff and the, oh my God, can you believe Kohberger's got a post-conviction relief going, yay, situation. Let's fix the algorithm. It's up to us, guys. We can fix it. Man or machine, you decide.
Ethan as well, and make sure that the world's a better place. Really, it's just the world's a better place when this is said and done.
Yeah.
You've said no cleanup, Cy. I mean, right? That you think
There's no cleanup. He was in and out. We're talking minutes. And, I'm limited on some of this information. There was some reenactments that I know were done. And the reenactments, this crime could clearly be carried out by a single individual, and it's 5 to 6 minutes. And if push ever came to shove and that had to be proven in court, I know there's video out there of the reenactments. Like, there is no doubt that this is a single offender. But on that point, I think what you guys are hitting at, it's frustrating to see is, Turvey wants to say that there's cleanup because of things that are absent. Basically there's things that aren't in a bathroom, therefore it's indicative of cleanup. There's no evidence of what that bathroom looked like before or after. Like, if we start building a case on that type of speculation, Bryan Kohberger's going to walk, right? That's just absurd. And I felt a deep obligation to call Turvey out. And, I'm going to piece something together for you guys. And I've been on the fence if I should voice this, but I think it's the right thing to do. So if I get in trouble later on, so be it. Don't get caught up in what I believe is a very rehearsed scam that is happening right now. If you look at what's happened over the last 3 months, let me help you guys connect some dots. Brett Turvey gets with Whitcomb, who's another idiot. Like, the guy who's never investigated a homicide is going to be the armchair quarterback that's going to change this thing, right? So Turvey and Whitcomb partner up. Turvey becomes very outspoken about this. And what does Ann Taylor do? She publicly reprimands him and issues this cease and desist. If you think about what Turvey's saying Bryan Kohberger is innocent, that this is a big conspiracy, that there's other people. I mean, he goes as far as saying Dylan is potentially, how absolutely absurd. Yet Ann Taylor reprimands him from proclaiming BK's innocence. I come out with a book. I go around to law enforcement. Ann knows. I told her I was going to go teach law enforcement. I have been very, very clear. I've always thought Bryan Kohberger is guilty. I think in 10 out of 10 courts in America convict this kid. Every single time we go to court, he gets convicted. The question is, does all the evidence come in because of some of the ways that the evidence was managed, which is a whole different conversation. But I am very outspoken that Bryan Kohberger is the guy. Why hasn't Ann issued a letter to me about breaching my NDA or all this stuff? I will argue any day of the week. What I am saying is way more detrimental to the defense's case than what Bryan Turvey said, or Brent Turvey. And she did the one with Turvey. If you guys look at the picture, and here's the critical dates, the Thursday before the plea deal, Ann says in open court, Your Honor, I can't effectively represent my client if I don't get the continuation. So you have the primary attorney on this case saying in open court, it's one of the last statements she made before the plea deal, I cannot effectively represent my client. Those are not small words for an attorney to say in open court. And then
I wouldn't have allowed him.
72 hours later, we have a plea deal. And the way the plea deal came down, the way you guys were notified is disgusting. I've never seen that in 30 years. Like that, there's all kinds of craziness going on there.
We just learned that his family was there at the plea deal. His family was there. So they learned before we did. That's the disrespect.
What are you getting at, though, Cy? If you can just connect the pieces of what you're trying to say a little more. I'm just trying to follow.
We have the ineffective counsel claim. We have the plea deal gets worked out within 72 hours. And Taylor stays on as Kohberger's attorney. Like this last year, she's the only person on the jail logs that was visiting him on a regular basis. He hasn't sought out new counsel. She's very much in his ear on a daily basis. We then see the Turvey Whitcomb book come out where, hey, there's all this conspiracy. Ann has to separate herself from that and says, oh, I don't agree with this. I'm going to reprimand you guys. Like, don't say these things. And now we see Bryan drop. And I knew the appeal was coming. In my book that I sent to the publisher in February, which is a manual. It's not a Bryan Kohberger tell-all. I put it in the book. Like the appeal is coming. There's no doubt about it.
You called it before it happened.
And what I'm convinced about is Turvey and Ann are together on this. Turvey and Ann are not at odds. Ann needed some new information because that's the only way an ineffective counsel gets any legs at all. They need something new to get spun up. They need it to be very well known. And now there has to be this separation where Ann is helping Bryan, but not directly involved. And who takes that role is Turvey. So Turvey comes out, says all this nonsense. Bryan writes his thing. The last missing piece, and mark my words, I think we're going to see it in the next 60 to 90 days. Ann will absolutely fall on her sword for BK. She is a true believer. She believes he's innocent. She has an unhealthy relationship with him. And I think we're going to see.
Is my theory correct, Cy? Because I said it. I don't think it was understood, but I said it because I clearly understood it. So much so, I went and found that hearing where Ann detailed line by line by line by line why she's not effective, and BK's sitting there sucking it all in like a little 2-year-old. Can you tell me more, Mommy? Huh. Very, very interesting. Welcome to the baby channel of true crime, where we critically think about everything.
See Ann come out in the next like 60 to 90 days, maybe a little bit longer, depending on the timeline, and she's going to eat the ineffective counsel. She's going to say, he's right. I missed it. I should have known about it. And
Bing, bing, bong. Bing, bing, bong, bing, bing, bong, bing. Unhealthy relationship. You didn't do it, Bri. I'm going to dig up your babyhood and all to the womb. Your mommy suffered from some postpartum, did she? You had problems since you were 9 years old. You were a problem child, unhinged, having the little meltdowns in the corner, throwing those wretched little fits. And your sisters were watching, going, damn, Mama ain't got time for us because Bri takes it all up. Because anytime we get the attention, he's over there having a fucking meltdown in the corner because he didn't get his goddamn way. And being the only baby boy, Mama's going to appease.
Big break moment. I just looked at it with a new lens, with this new thing. Yeah. I'm going to go even further. I'm going to let some stuff out of the bag. So I've talked to some authors, and so they actually have footage of BK boxing. He's an amateur boxer. They have a whole thing of him in a ring. 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Can we see it? Because we knew it. We already knew he was a boxer. He's like, I got to go box and get myself in some physical shape. Got to go surveilling. We can't legally call it that. We don't even call Christina a stalker like Lauren did. No. The law does not apply. So I'm fair. We are surveilling, by God, and I got to get in shape. That guy was going to come testify, wasn't he, Firefly? He was on the list, wasn't he? He was on the list to come and testify about the boxing experience in the ring. They had the guy that sold him the Elantra coming to testify too. And was he trying to sell the Elantra after he got back to Pennsylvania, possibly, allegedly?
162 punches. 160. That was going to be like, oh, he couldn't do 150 in 12 minutes. No,
there you go. I got to go review some of them channels later for shits and motherfucking giggles after I go watch the Netflix special and see if they did it injustice and hear from the people who knew Kohberger, the chick that went to the sales with him. The victims' families are on there. And Christy, my God, my heart, girl. I don't care who don't like that.
They have him in 3 minutes throwing blows of 162 times. So there was more than enough time. There was actually more time for you to go in and maneuver and do things, change clothes, whatever you did.
Now think about how many wounds each victim actually had and how much he's practiced stuff like that. Was he really prepared for 4 victims? Really? Did he think he could slip up there into a house he may or may not have known and found Maddie right away? Because that big M in the window in the boot and all, we knew it was Maddie's room. It was no secret. He knew where her room was at. It's the first place he went. He didn't go straight to Kaylee's unless he went to Kaylee's and she was in the bed with Maddie, so he went to go find her. If that's your theory, that's fine. It appears Madison Mogan was the girl. He had lots of little blondes on his history search. He liked blondes. Kaylee's a blonde, but did she really fit his image of what he wanted? Did he see cute social media posts from Madison Mogan and just there it was? That's the one. Oh my God, our house is perfect. Or was there 5 or 6, and oh, this one's got the best house. So I'm honed in now. Damn it, man. Anybody who says he couldn't walk in that house and do what he did to each victim because he's uncoordinated, as Ann Taylor tried to portray him in open court, he's uncoordinated. We beg to differ, Ann Taylor. What are you actually doing, as I suspected?
There was time there, and they were going to show him physically doing it against another human being that was willing to fight him, and these people are sleeping in bed. They had a really good plan. Some parts they were going to execute really well, other parts they didn't execute as well. But to anyone who thinks that somebody could go in there, they didn't have enough time, you don't know your facts.
They've claimed they've searched. There's a private investigator, Jason Jensen, who's searched some parts of Idaho. I don't know. They may or may not have searched parts of the Lolo Mountain. I got a video on that somewhere out there in my YouTubes. Christy Goncalves. Did they search the Lolo Mountains? Were you actually told, hey, we searched the Lolo Mountains?
They were going to show you to your face.
So you think, Sai, right? I mean, you would know, I guess, you were on the inside, that Ann Taylor actually believes he's innocent and has an unhealthy relationship with him?
I am concerned about the ongoing communication, the protection, just that I don't know how else to explain it, almost as like a motherly instinct with Bryan. To Steve's point, 100%.
Bryan manipulated Ann. Holy fuck, he's good. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Bri, Bubba. Ramslin, are you manipulated as well? You're the professional, right? You took on BTK and won, right? Like, I just won the internet. Joke. What do you do? What do y'all do? Y'all ladies, are y'all like, aw, he's so lovey-dovey?
Kohberger family was way more involved on that plea deal than the victims' families ever were. I believe that there was conversations going from the jail in real time of this thing going down. There's no doubt about that. But I've done a lot of these cases. I've done a lot of death penalty cases. It is very unusual for the defense attorney on the case, especially one who's technically a public defender, to stay involved and active with the defendant in prison visitations the year following a plea deal.
Visitor's log, please. Hair in Ethan's hands. Lordy, have mercy, Ann Taylor. What are you actually doing? Is this for real? Is this for any? Would you care to comment, ma'am? Bryan, Bryan's on it. Bryan's already like, holy, what did I just get laid out on my show? Bryan, you got it, dude. You got a scoop. You probably already inquired about those interviews, haven't you? Do you, boo? Do you, boo? Will they bite?
Incredibly rare. Like, the case is done. No one is making contact with him. So the idea that it's all Ann and only Ann, and he hasn't obtained a new attorney for this appeal, to me is very telling. I think jail logs and jail calls would really expose a regular routine between Ann and Bryan.
Oh, jail calls, jail log. We got Stephon Stearns bullshit with his mommy and daddy. Well, we're Florida. I forget sunshine laws and all that. Here, you want it? Okay, just ask for it. Stephon Stearns and his communications with mother from the prison. Can we get those communications from Bryan Kohberger's prison, Idaho? Do you allow that? Could we pretty please?
They're visiting and talking on a weekly, if not daily basis at times.
Y'all demand your states beef up their sunshine law. Go Google it. What is my state's sunshine law requirements? Pennsylvania's absolutely suck.
Which is weird. Yeah, that's unhealthy in my opinion. As a criminal defense attorney, you got to keep that line between your clients, right?
Yeah, I was told by insiders that it's a small community we live in that said she's purposely after you, Steve. She's watching your interviews, making us all watch it together and coming up with
Making us all watch it together and coming, what? What? Who's us? That sounds like Ann Taylor's watching all your interviews and making us all watch them together. Steve, you know we have to follow you extremely carefully. You've gotten much better with your word salad, Idaho talk and all. I get you. People say I talk funny, but I understand how you speak. You ain't mincing no words. Who's us? Who's talking to you from that? Oh, I better not say that out loud. Ann could be watching that interview. She's certainly not watching me. She's certainly not gauging social media to see is all that support still out there for my boy that's always been there, that I've clocked, engaged, and possibly got subpoenas on YouTube channels about. Maybe back in June of, oh, I don't know, what was it, 2025?
discovery based off your conversations. And once I learned that, guess what? I started talking about Bluetooth. I started talking about other things and just put her on rabbit trails just to play chess with her. But
I'm sorry. Damn it, Steve. Oh boy.
I've heard some really unnatural things are going on in this case.
Is there evidence? I'll save Steve for a minute. On Olivia's cue. Is there? I'm just joking.
Bryan, most of America outside of Criminal Network, aka Alex, we love you, dude. Y'all show some love. For Bryan, he getting some hate from those weirdos that hang out around Nancy Guthrie's house.
Is there evidence, Cy, that we don't know about that was never public?
I think there's definitely stuff that has been withheld and has still been withheld. I don't know how much it was conveyed to the victims' families, universally, not just Steve and Olivia, but across the board. There's some really
Now, keep in mind, this family, along with other families, have a big lawsuit pending right now against Washington State University. Sarah on Twitter is always dropping the latest documents. I'm going to go grab Sarah's link real quick for those of you who want to follow and keep up with that. She's a great resource in the Idaho 4 case. She just drops documents and keep you up to date on things happening in the case without any opinions asserted, things of that nature. You're going to get exactly what you came for with Miss Sarah Dish. Sarah D. Irish. Sarah D. Irish. Let me get her. Let's see. In fact, I'll just post a link here to one of her last tweets. And it was the order where he was appointed as public defender, okay? Because he did get that granted by Judge Hippler after his face palm. There we go. There's Sarah's X account. And she's got all the documents for the lawsuit.
really disturbing
Team Entin all the way.
things on his internet history that I don't know ever really came out that would be incredibly hard to just simply show and walk away from a jury not thinking that's going to leave a big impact, especially on the case of this nature. I'm talking right now specifically his porn history. He's got a very disturbing porn history that I think really paints a picture.
Now, Heather Bernhardt alluded to that too, right? There was some documents that talked about that. It was very specific and pretty bad, and I won't say it here because we don't want to get into YouTube troubles today. We've had enough of that lately, thank you. But yeah, very disturbing. We're not allowed to say that word, but y'all heard what Sai said. Very disturbing internet searches, right?
And that's all non-consensual acts. And I also heard gay, male to male gay. Is that accurate?
I don't know on the gay stuff, and quite honestly, I don't mean this in the way it's going to sound. I'm not focused on the gay porn. For me,
I know what you're focused on.
yeah,
Steve, stop it.
for me, you hit it on the head, Olivia. The non-consensual, violent nature of the porn.
I was
Um,
aware of terms drugged, raped, passed out, sleeping.
I would go more on incredibly violent sexual encounters.
So worse than what was described in the document, according to the narrative of Idaho. Worse than what they said.
So not the sleeping or passed out, but very aware of what's happening and it being very,
Oh, wait,
very
wait, wait.
violent.
We got, whoa,
Um,
BTK, Rex Heuermann type torture while they're alive and can feel it. Not passed out, knocked out, don't know what's happening to them kind of things. They are very aware of what he's doing to them. And it's pure torture. That's what Kohberger's into. Oh, what happened to you, Bill Thompson? We knew Jennings wasn't going to make no name for herself and her baby lawyer, Timu self, baby lawyer.
which is always a tough thing for a prosecutor, or I mean, sorry, a defense attorney to get through. That's something that's going to really tell a story about somebody's character. I think that there's stuff to still come out. I think you guys are going down the right road. I've quietly been watching, waiting for more to drop.
Nice. That's the way to do it.
I can tell you, for me, the location information and the pattern of life, it hasn't come out because I don't think they ever looked at it. And it is by far the most telling of what we have out there. By the way, the day after this, he turns the phone.
Don't y'all find it wild that the prosecution didn't find that out, but the freaking defense team expert did? People think he's doing it for a buck or just clean up his reputation. And what? I don't understand that. Explain that to me. That's a hard sell. Anyway, yeah, look at that guy. We always knew there was something to those eyes. Everybody's like, oh, stop making fun of his eyes. It's not fair. So much so that his eyes were creepy. His own attorney wanted to walk in and tell the jurors, please don't be offended at the way my client may stare at you. He cannot help it. He is on the autism spectrum. He has no social cues. Please don't take that and use that against him later. Legit, it's in the documents. She wanted to do that. Oh my gosh. Firefly. Good God.
Off again. So, again, they're trying to show these patterns and they do a pretty good job of showing, hey, prior to the murders, he turns his phone off on this days, but it's like they just stopped on November 13th. And as an investigator who's looking at a lot of crimes like this, I want to see what he's doing the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next month. Like that is a really critical period too, that we see very defined behaviors of suspects like this. And the very next day, he heads to Moscow, he turns his phone off, he turns it back on, and he's southbound on I-95.
Damn. State of Idaho's like, stop right there. That's enough to cover up the IGG. That's all we need. Good. That's good enough, boys.
It's almost a mirror of what you saw the day before.
The Barnhart said that they found a config file that they had to reproduce, and luckily they had exact same phone. But basically, he went through a pattern. He turned off the Wi-Fi. Then I'm gonna mess this up, but he turned off the Wi-Fi, like airplane mode. Then put VPN, and then put VPN to only establish connections after start. And he did this whole thing, and that was brand new. He hadn't done that in the config files. That was the first time he did it, and they were.
Whoa, Heather, you elaborate. Oh my God, I'm tongue tied. She elaborated more. Hold on. This is wild. Okay.
They're going to bring that forward to say that this is a new behavior, just same thing that you're saying, a new behavior that he did before and after, and he doesn't do it again. He stops coming back to the Moscow area after the murders. He doesn't go back there anymore. So anyone who thinks he's over there just shopping, they're like, and I guess the message really is to the world is you can't commit these crimes anymore and get away with it. And that's really what I'm trying to say is I just learned recently with the labs I'm working with, I can't say this on regular TV. Rapes are getting very, very rare. People don't get away with rape anymore because there's the fluid exchange, and that
Steve, you're going to get us in trouble on the YouTubes too, but it's okay. We don't mind. We it's got to be said.
leading everyone's starting to learn. If I do this, I'm going to get caught, and we need that same message in these murder cases. And
I flick the finger at YouTube. I honestly do not care. Say what you got to say, sir. And he's right. You know, and to think that there's so much more evidence against Bryan Kohberger that the state just did not pursue, but the defense uncovered is wild to me. What did Ann Taylor's conversation with Cy look like? She's like, "Excuse me, we no longer need your voluntary services. Get out of here. Good day." Turvey, come here, Tipsy Turvey. Come sit beside me and tell me again how that crime scene was staged and cleaned, and how those people on the internet like Dylan Mortensen some more. Although Turvey made fun of y'all. Is that reverse psychology on Turvey's part? Because you were a weird little dude I was trying to figure out. Like, what are you doing, Turvey? Like, legit, what are you doing? Now, you were trying to manipulate them and make what? He's trying to upset the masses, though? That, I don't know. Cy sure upset the masses, because when they interviewed Cy Ray, they didn't like it at all. We saw their shift in their mood. We saw their tone. They continued to question about Dylan. But are you saying this? Are you saying that? He's like, how much more clear can I get? Legit, how much more can girls? He even called people not sensible who believed in what they believe in. Oh, we did a whole show. Was it last night, guys? My days are running together. I'm tired. But we're here for it, Cy. Welcome in, know thyself. Pinto, hey, how are you? It's been a minute.
I don't know how to say that in a mainstream media format, but we got to. I'm trying to work on.
Tank your podcast, Bryan Entin.
What'd you say, Olivia?
So we're just going to tank your podcast instead. My apologies.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So,
Brian's like, no, it's okay. We're here for it, because we are. Get it out there. Bryan does support victims and victims' families. He don't play around about that. He don't do shit for clicks and views. He cares. He wants the truth out there if it can be put out there. And if families need a platform, then why not? Doing it right.
so on that, Steve and Olivia, let me give you a name. Follow this case. I think it's really, really important. The name is Matthew Nilo, Nilo. So Nilo.
Okay.
Matthew is an attorney who was practicing in New York, but he went to law school in Boston. And in the early 2000s, when he was in law school in Boston, he was a serial rapist. And I want to say he had 7 victims that they've identified. About 2 years ago, maybe 3. Man, time's flying right now. Maybe a little bit longer. Just after these murders, they did the exact same thing. It's the exact same team with IgG, and they took some of the DNA from one of those rapes. They ran it through IgG, and like I said, it's the same team that worked on the Kohberger case, and they got a hit on Nilo. And they went and did the 1-to-1 comparison. They got it. They arrested him in New York. That case is working its way through Massachusetts right now. He's going to challenge the IgG, and he's going to win.
Oh, no. You say, Cy, you're giving me one. Calm down. My system's already a wreck. Massachusetts, though, okay, we'll table that for now. We'll just pretend that's not a part of it. Same team that worked the IgG for Kohberger. Same IgG team that chose the back doors to go through. Being challenged by an attorney being accused of being a rapist back in the day at college. Did I hear that right, guys? Is that what I heard? Well, I'll review later to confirm, but I think that's what I just heard.
The thing I want you guys focused on, because this is probably one of the more infuriating things. And if somebody's told you this, I'll shut up. But if they haven't, they are doing a huge disservice to all of the victims' families right now by not giving you guys the lay of the land. The defense is going to buy all the time they can until one of these IgG cases hits a major appeals case or the U.S. Supreme Court. When it does, you can kind of mark my words here, the rule is going to become you have to have a search warrant for IgG. You just have to.
Ba-bing, you're going to have to going forward. Right now, none's required.
Most states have already started to adopt it, but this
Ann Taylor tried hard to fight that fight right there, and I was actually here for it. She did fight it hard. She got a lot in that was never allowed in before, guys. She had a big win on the IGG, actually. She went up against the FBI hard, and she fought them, and Judge was here for it, and he allowed it, and she won. And she got a bunch of material never been given to a defense attorney before. I can only imagine what's in that discovery dump. I guess they gave her the same shit they were willing to give up in this Nilo case. Nilo? I think that's it, Firefly. Matthew Nilo.
Nilo case is really likely. He's got the resources, the funding, and the knowledge to take this to the Supreme Court.
Oh.
If that happens, and they actually look at, hey, when you sidestep the search warrant and you step outside of policy, IGG is out. If that ever happens, that is Bryan's gold card right there.
United States Supreme Court will hear the case of Bryan Kohberger in the future to reverse everything on IGG.
And I think that the defense, they're watching this case very carefully. They're waiting to see what happens with this, and everything you guys are going to see the next year or two is nothing more than buying time.
But would that even matter if he pled guilty? I mean, it's not like he had a trial and...
Are we doing the baby appeal, testing the waters? And Taylor, have you spoken to appellate attorneys right making this decision? Because Turvey literally said, I expect to be called onto the appellate team of cases I work. Did he not? We all heard it with our own ears. We paused and said, what? You don't say. Appellate teams? What? That's what it takes to win an overturned conviction. That's what it takes to file what Bryan Kohberger just filed.
And then was found guilty, and then he could go back and say, oh, the evidence they used at trial against me, is unfair. Like, he still pled guilty. But that had nothing to do with the IGG.
So here's the issues, and there's two huge issues here. And again, Steve, if somebody's explained this to you, then I'll move on. If not, like, you guys, you have to be aware of this. The fact that the prosecution probably never told you about Garza versus Idaho. And man, commit that one to memory. So Garza versus Idaho is a U.S. Supreme Court involving Idaho, where a guy who took a plea deal, who voluntarily pled guilty, actually got it reversed.
Oh.
And he took it all the way to the Supreme Court. So plea deals are not...
Did he say Garza?
The closing of a case. Plea deals aren't like, okay, we're going to put this behind us. We're going to let everybody get closure here. Anytime a prosecutor frames a plea deal as closure, they're doing a huge disservice, because plea deals get turned over all the time on appeal. The second thing, and man, I am not a Hippler fan at all. I think Hippler made a critical error when he made the ruling that IGG could come in as a tip, so be it. But the moment he prevented the defense from being able to expose to the jury that the lab techs willingly, knowingly violated their own policy to do it, it's not a constitutional issue. That evidence comes in, but it does become a credibility issue. And
that was the strangest thing to me, that he allowed it as the tip, but also did it. Si's not wrong. And I told y'all that IGG is problematic, and it was going to be, and it is. We got a couple things going on here at one time, it feels like.
Any other court in the United States, when anybody associated with law enforcement oversteps a policy as it relates to evidence, you got to explain that on the stand. And I think if the prosecution did it right, you can explain that. Hey, for the interest of justice, for X, Y, and Z, yeah, we made this tactical decision. But the moment that Hippler made the decision that the jury can never hear about any of that, and the defense is not allowed to cross-examine officers who knowingly, intentionally violated policy on one of the most critical pieces of evidence in this case, that is a judicial oversight. That in of itself, when challenged properly, has the ability to bring this case back. Now, to Steve, to your point, do it right. 10 times out of 10, he gets convicted, and maybe more comes out, and it really does put some closure behind this thing. Bring back the death penalty. I am all for this. But I think that I don't agree with the national populace right now that his appeal doesn't have legs, and it's very unlikely it's going to happen.
Mm. You don't say.
I think there's a couple things that if it falls into place just right, it could happen. So I just say that as prepare yourself, right?
I've talked to some crazy labs, and there's some multi.
I've talked to some crazy labs. Is that what he said? Because his lab list on their that they've partnered with is interesting because somebody's not on that list. But somebody trying to build their national DNA data bank one swab at a time, that person's not on the list.
Multi-billionaire, okay? His house got broken into. Somebody stole his safe. Didn't just take it. Didn't just break into it. They took it. And long story short, a cigar was left behind. This guy hires a private lab to get a snip off of it, and then uploads it to all and goes and finds the person who robs his house and shot his dog, which is like, it's like a movie, okay? And he gives it to the cops as a tip. And they said,
Are people paying private labs to investigate what happened at their house? And then telling the cops that's a tip? What lab is doing that nonsense? The one not on the list? Building that data bank one swab at a time? Is it them people? That's a game changer. Don't get on my radar like that. I don't know what he's talking about yet, y'all. I'm trying to me unwrapping shit in real time in my head.
Basically arrested this guy and kind of is taking shit over it because he was supposed to handle it himself. So, long story short, he starts his own company.
What?
And he's just going through certain locations that he's deemed as high risk, and they're just grabbing people's DNA and uploading it.
Oh my God. Y'all. Phew, deep breath. Deep breaths. Holy shit. Who's doing this, Steve Goncalves? Oh, who's doing this? They need to be exposed today, immediately. Especially if they're the same people building DNA databanks, getting armchair sleuths to help dig into people and records and build their trees. What the fuck do we have here? What have we uncovered for those people investigating the web sleuth / author of it all? I'm speculating, allegedly. I no longer allegedly speculate, I speculate allegedly. What have we uncovered over here on the tiny little channel?
If they own it. But once you abandon your DNA, you don't own it.
Nope.
So then they're making these databases to sell to the freaking cops. It's I'm going to say he's a criminal, and this is a weird story.
Who's selling their databases to the cops? Those do-gooders? Those do-gooders who rode in on a victory? Look what we did in the Idaho 4 case. What'd you do exactly? You used a legal database and couldn't land on the guy. Landed on some family members, though. I'm speculating. Allegedly.
I really don't know he was or not, or he was just a shady business guy. But he found a niche, and he's going in there because the database, CODIS is puny. There's almost nobody in it.
Oh.
So they need to get to these bigger ones, and he found this niche, and they're like, we're afraid to work with this guy because we feel like this is going to get shut down. But this is the stuff that's going on, Steve. This is the wild west of IGG.
The old bat in the hat. Is there a connection to the old bat in the hat? It's wild west of IG. What's happening here?
What were you gonna say, Olivia? Were you gonna say something?
Yeah. So I guess that I just don't follow the logic completely, that this is not an appeal. This is a post-conviction relief. the relief that he's asking for is for his guilty plea to be removed.
Right.
Let's say that it's all granted. That essentially puts him back on the trial court. Let's say that they successfully delay until the Supreme Court decision in which it is deemed to be unconstitutional for the IGG process. We're assuming that that's going to be then done retroactively, then apply to this case. Let's assume that that happens. Let's assume that IGG gets removed. It doesn't change his DNA being a direct match to the DNA on the sheath. So I guess I'm not following how we jump from these things happening. And I know you said that they're unlikely. You know, you were like, if these things all fall.
Because the only thing about it is it could keep the sheath out of court, because it was the work product was obtained without a search warrant. So keep in mind, there's a big Supreme Court challenge on the geofencing warrants. The Supreme Court just said, not so fast. What are you doing? That's an incredibly broad search you got there, searching all those people unwittingly who may or may not have been doing a thing, but driving through a neighborhood on a delivery or something.
Altogether. But I'm not following how these things all fall together to then have the IGG removed, which then puts us in a position where the case is at risk considering the DNA is a match. So maybe the work was ethically budged, but the work itself is good.
Yeah, so let me give you a couple things on that. The best case I can reference you to is Carpenter versus U.S. And what Carpenter is, it's a bank robbery case, so obviously not anything of the nature of what we're talking about here. But in Carpenter, they do some cell tower dumps and they look at cell phone records, and they're able to place Carpenter at the scene of this bank robbery using cell phone records. Mm-hmm. But it's the FBI. And, you know, in 2017, well, actually, the ruling's in 2017. The case actually happens about 2010, 2011. The FBI gets involved, and instead of using a search warrant to get the phone records, they use basically what they call an admin subpoena, which is a supervisor at the FBI saying, hey, this is relevant to a criminal investigation, give us the stuff. So Verizon gives them the records, and they put him at the crime scene. They recover some evidence based on the phone records. He goes to prison. It goes on. He finally gets his appeal. It goes up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and this was the first case in the United States that challenged, can law enforcement look at your location data without a search warrant?
Geo warrants?
Yeah, and basically the Supreme Court said no. Looking into your location data is so personal, it requires a search warrant. And this was the landmark case for cell site location information that requires law enforcement. And now everybody except for the FBI was getting search warrants for a decade before this, because we all knew where this was going. But the FBI was doing it that way.
FBI's like, we don't need search warrants. We do what we want. Don't ask questions. Just take what we give you and don't ask how we got it. We're the FBI. Remember, we get it done. Doesn't matter how we did it.
So how does he have a claim?
So it reversed. It reversed the conviction because the conviction was based on the phone records, and the Supreme Court said, hey, you should have had a probable cause search warrant and you didn't. The phone records went away. So they had to retry Carpenter and prove the case without the phone records, which luckily they had a ton of evidence and they were able.
Now, could you imagine trying to retry Bryan Kohberger without that knife sheath, with some grainy car footage and Cyray's cell data? Can you place him in the house? Can you place him near the house, within feet, within maybe in the house? Well, so was a lot of other people. So were a lot of other people, including 2 surviving roommates who didn't call 911 for approximately 8 hours.
To do. So that's the first one is, should law enforcement have reasonably obtained a search warrant? And this is my hang up on the Kohberger case. And the answer is so simple.
I feel sick.
If law enforcement would have written a search warrant for what they were doing with IGG, it doesn't hurt anything. We can seal search warrants. I don't have to release it. I'm going to go back to my undercover days. We did a lot of cartel cases. I was a cop in Arizona, so we had a lot of cartel cases on the border. We used to.
Oh, Cyray. I knew you was in Arizona, but I forgot that you were a cop, and you were a cop in Arizona. Can you give us a look-see-loo into that nano sky? What do you know about that nano sky? You ever heard of that nano sky? Sheriff Nanos. Can he find Nancy Guthrie? Can he look at the cell phone? Can y'all give Cy Ray the geofence warrant you did on Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood? And he can tell us if they ever left the neighborhood that night. Inquiring minds want to know. Did they leave the neighborhood that night? Asking for myself.
Steal cars to wire them with GPS because we needed to get access on the car to get our GPS in there, right? So we would literally order the key from the manufacturer, and we would go steal cartel members' cars, and then we would plant the GPS in it, and then we'd recover it and give it back to them.
They planted GPS on Stephon Starnes and Jin Jin. Yeah, damn it, man. We're stealing their cars and planting shit. Whoa, Cy Ray, you're a little Billy Badass. Damn it, man. What, Turvy, tipsy turvy, sit down. Cy steals cars.
It's a great scam. We wrote search warrants to ourselves so that we documented what we were doing and there was transparency with legal oversight on our actions. When we allow the FBI to go through back doors and to kind of trick the system, and if you ask them, well, why didn't you write a search warrant to GED, match GED? Well, we didn't write the search warrant because they wouldn't have they wouldn't have given us the info.
I think it was
They don't work with the private partnership sector, whatever Kash Patel said it was. Implemented by the President of the United States, the partnership with the private sector to serve lawful warrants on their companies. Maureen O'Connell was a part of all of that, and she talked about it. I was like, oh, side-eye. Oh, side-eye. Yeah, I've been clocking that for several months. Thank you, Cy.
Heritage.
Well, it was
23andMe. All the big, large databases don't allow law enforcement to search their databases. GEDmatch does, and there are two others. CC Moore can tell you all about the three legal databases to do this. But what is GEDmatch? The dump of the ones that if you opt in, that's where everything goes for the easy search for genetic genealogy, from my understanding. It stops there with those three data banks. If you're not, say if you go to 23andMe, what they're legally allowed to search is not there because you're at 23andMe. But do you share DNA on another profile platform with somebody else? You know what I mean? So it's cray-cray. But that's what did the FBI go to 23andMe or Ancestry.com and set up an account as a private individual and upload that DNA looking for family matches? Is that what they did? Because they wouldn't have got their search warrant to go subpoena, let us come in and take a look here. So I've always theorized exactly what they did. And Taylor wanted those records to prove how you even developed your IgG. What method did you use? I think they went to the website and set up a profile under a fake account and uploaded that DNA as their own fake account to do a IgG search on themselves. And that's how they got their
match and heritage. So both of them. So the idea there is, man, if they reverse that, and then you get Steve Nye, and you talk about somebody who should not have been involved with this case. If you guys haven't seen his, you know who Steve is?
We haven't read it. We got it, Cy. What do you mean he shouldn't have got involved? I got it.
Jeff Nye?
Jeffrey Nye. Sorry, yeah, Jeffrey Nye.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did an interview in August with Fox News. You guys have to go watch this interview, and he explains the.
I think he actually told this in purpose, because Christy Dawn asked him, "What do you worry about?" And he said the same thing.
Who?
And yeah, I've
yeah.
I've worried about. It's not so much him explaining, because I agree with him. The entire case was hinged on the IgG.
Yep.
It's what he says towards the end when he says, and usually with these type of things, we can argue inevitable.
Is that the interview I watched where he? Wait a minute. Sounds like the one. I got the article that they're speaking about though.
Discovery, and what inevitable discovery is the Carpenter case. Yeah, we have these phone records, and it helped put the case together. But take the phone records out, inevitably we still would have discovered all this stuff, and we could prove the case. And that's why Carpenter is still in prison today, even though those records got thrown out.
especially considering it went to Othram first and they found the right tree. They were on the wrong branch. And Leah Larkin herself testified in the Franks hearing that eventually it would have led to him.
100%. 100%. The problem is Jeffrey Nye on Fox
Leah Larkin said that.
TV during that interview said, we didn't even argue inevitable discovery because there was nothing that applied for it. And I'm like, dude, shut up. What are you saying? More importantly than even what Othram found, we have to remember on November 29th, Washington State University identified Bryan Kohberger and the vehicle, realized that he just swapped his plates for Washington plates, and notified Moscow PD.
Do you have receipts? Because I got the chief who said something completely different. That's why I say that. That's why it bugs me. I saw the interview and he said we didn't notify him because it was a different car, blah, blah, blah. We interviewed him for a job, but we didn't see a red flag. But they were downplaying the whole thing because they were nervous, I think. It was really weird to watch. Who did he do it with? That lady who wrote the book with Patterson, Vicky, what's her name? I think it was that interview with the person who she wrote the book with Patterson, didn't she? Vicky. And then she got an interview with him. Okay.
The idea that Bryan Kohberger would have been completely absent of this investigation minus IGG is absurd. All they had to do was follow up on credible leads. That's it. That's all they had to do.
Okay. So yeah, I think that we're on the same page.
And I'm not saying I ever think this thing gets reversed. What I'm saying is if you guys, as the victims in the case, in all of the victims' families, if you're not being told, hey, this could be 5, 6, 8, 10 years before this thing works itself out in the criminal justice system, you're being misled.
Amen. Preach it, sir. It takes that long for these cases to unfold when there's appellate issues at stake.
Carpenter case, well, that was a 2011 arrest. That case came down in 2018, and that's just the appeals process. That's not even the initial case. So I think we're in for a very long ride on this. I think there's a lot of things that are going to still happen. I don't know that he's going to get his post-conviction relief. I think they're anticipating that. All that does is now it forces it into an appellate review, and it's the appellate review that I worry about.
Do you think that'll...
I guess I'm not understanding that point either. How does a post-conviction relief force it to an appellate court? Because he won't even get a hearing. His argument is nothing but ineffective counsel, which was asked in the plea questionnaire that he answered extensively to, as well as life in prison isn't what I thought it was going to be. And I was, quote unquote.
I think Steve realizes he understands it a little more than she's willing to accept at this moment, because she wanted him so bad in that courtroom. My heart breaks for her. Those girls were her sisters, and she sees what social media is doing. That's why she has the TikTok. She can't understand what's happening and never has been able to understand what's going on. Not like that, like why social media does what they're doing. And those girls were her sisters, man. Maddie and Kaylee. Kaylee and Maddie were her sisters. I know Maddie was a family friend. That was her sister. God, she's going to realize it all, right? That it does. These are the issues with the law part of it, but she's having a hard time wrapping her head around this guy could possibly even have a fucking, morsel of a chance at something.
Threatened by the idea of death row. There's no other meat.
Hair in Ethan's hand.
Oh, okay.
You
Yeah,
have it.
Clumps of hair, which we know is completely fabricated. That's not reality. And his own defense, Ruth Ballard, testified on the 23rd of January that it was consistent with Ethan's own hair. So he can't.
She's so right. She knows this case and she knows the stuff, right? And she made Moscow talk to her. She made them show her stuff. They're like, you sure you want to see it? It's disturbing. She's like, it's my sisters. They suffered it. I need to see what he did to my sisters before you release it to the masses or redacted. I completely understood why she went down there. She was called gruesome for wanting to go down there. We all are gruesome because you're salivating, as that one guy says, over those photos. It's fucking weird shit.
Say that that's exculpatory because obviously the prosecution didn't withhold that from them. So that doesn't work out either. So I guess I'm not understanding from how we get to he's not even going to get a hearing. Mark my words. Let's say that I'm wrong. He gets a hearing. How does that throw it into an appellate when he's not asking?
It's not how they obtained his daddy's DNA. They tried to obtain Kohberger's DNA right out of the garbage in Pennsylvania to compare to the DNA found at the crime scene because they knew who he was, but they needed to see if that was really him. We don't really know. They were really watching him, really not, but they were. So when they obtained the DNA, it was at the curtilage, totally legal. The DNA come back to the father of the person on the sheath. But IgG is what also matched back to the father, Kohberger. We're not sure what the FBI did. It's like they tried to say we didn't do nothing, but that's what it was. They got the daddy's DNA from the garbage, not Kohberger's. Kohberger was hiding his DNA like a little bitch. He started that immediately in Moscow, Idaho, wearing gloves everywhere, making sure he didn't leave straws behind and pizza crust everywhere, making sure he wasn't out there shedding DNA all over the place because he knew there was a chance he had a little tiny bit in that house he shouldn't have been in. It doesn't need to be shedding more for them to come and follow me and get all paranoid and shit. No.
Asking for his plea waiver to be removed. He's asking for his guilty plea.
Oh yeah, didn't they say he was bagging up his little garbage in Mama's house into little Ziplocs? When they busted in on him, he was separating his garbage and going to the neighbors. FBI's watching, where private eyes are watching you. And he's going to the neighbors to toss away the garbage. And people on the internet's like, oh, I use my neighbor's garbage all the time when mine's full. It's normal. Well, duh. But it's Bryan Kohberger, man. It's a little sus behavior. Was the garbage can full at his mom's? Do you know that for a fact? If not, the sus.
Plea to be removed.
He's not a lawyer,
Oh.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
He's
I'm sorry.
an
You
officer
don't-
trying
you
to
don't
help
know.
us.
Please, if you don't know.
No, I get it.
It's okay.
I would be so frustrated. In fact, I would be like, just please release the guy. The only thing I
That's
ask.
why they
Yeah.
won't talk to us.
That's how I feel. Just release. Let's just release him.
Yeah, they won't talk to us because these are the kind of questions that we give to Thompson, and Thompson just his eyes start
But
darting.
I don't think that it's not an unfair question. Like you said, I don't know that Cy has the answer. But
Wait a minute, Steve, do that. Steve's like his eyes just darting, and he's like, y'all don't give that poor old man a spasm. He can't take Steve Goncalves. He never could. The minute Steve Goncalves went public and questioned the investigation very early on, which fed a little tiny fuel to the Kohbergers accidentally, and then they went south. But he was trying to show people that something wasn't right, and he didn't know what it was. That's all he was doing. He was in real time trying to figure out what the hell just happened to my daughter and every single one of her friends, and why can't they catch this guy?
that's what Olivia's asking is really the question. I mean,
Here's the thing that we have to keep in mind. The post-conviction relief that he's seeking right now is going to go before Hitler. And I agree with you 100%, Olivia. He's going to turn it down. He's not even going to get a hearing.
Oh.
He can appeal that. This is where Garza versus Idaho comes in. He can say, hey, Hitler's already jaded on this. He's part of the problem. I need
the ladder
side of that initial team to look at this. It's a long.
Yeah, because Hitler's a little unfair. That's what Kohberger can say when he's denied his evidentiary hearing. He has another method to go, another avenue to take. It's an appellate process. There's always another avenue until you run out all your chances at appeal, which can take decades in some cases. Kohberger literally has nothing else to do but show the world how really smart he thinks he is, right? This is his jams. This is what he studies. This is what he does. He thinks he's a little he thinks he's a little tiny lawyer anyway. Good Lord. Is he just going to mess with the system as long as he can until he gets lucky? Until the Supreme Court holds out on IgG rulings?
Long road. They're going to have to file their stuff just right. At some point, he's going to have to get a real attorney to get on board. All I'm saying is if nobody's telling you guys that this is possible, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it's possible.
They didn't applaud it.
They're not.
They didn't applaud that guilty plea, they were fucking livid. They weren't notified. They weren't consulted. They weren't giving any options. They didn't give nothing. Steve Goncalves is ready to go to trial if we need to. They've always understood the IGG was a problem. Always have. They knew that.
Prepping you guys. The same thing about, hey, if we take this plea deal, we can bring closure to this case.
Two things can be true at one time. I've always known that IGG was a problem, right? But I don't apply to the plea deal at all because I knew this could all come. But trial, it wasn't coming in, so it was irrelevant until the Supreme Court weighs in.
Case. No, it just
exactly that they told us the opposite. They said if you guys go with Steve and go for the death penalty, you're going to have hell to pay. But if you just go with old Thompson over here, all your problems go away, and he pleads to it, and you all just go riding into the sunset. And now they're all like, I didn't think he could appeal.
Hashing old news.
Yeah.
What's that?
Hashing old news.
Well,
That's Dad.
we're still talking to people that are calling me. Like I just had Randy, he couldn't appeal, and we're like,
well, because it's
That
not
was-
an appeal. It's post-conviction relief, and it's going to be denied. Because here's the thing. He could have requested relief in the form of having his plea waiver removed, which would have been a hell of a lot more likely for a judge to say, yeah, sure, whatever, have your appeals back. But he didn't do that. He asked for his guilty plea removed, which logically makes no sense, which is why I think Ann Taylor's not behind this at all.
Oh, Bryan's little wheels are spinning. He's like, I got to find me some appellate attorneys, like a real appellate attorneys. I got to figure this out. This is interesting because she's like spitting out some facts too. Bryan's got future shows coming, guys.
I read something that Ann Taylor signed an affidavit today.
Asking for the relief that he's asking for isn't asking if they're trying to buy more time. Give him a route to appeals. Say, just remove my plea or just remove my appeals waiver. But you're trying to remove your guilty plea, which is never going to happen because of the questionnaire that Hippler gave him. It was incredibly extensive, and everything that he brings up in his motion was covered.
Yep.
So
I
unless
completely-
you're just like feigning amnesia, and unless he truly is just even more stupid than I thought that he was, and I truly thought that this man was stupid, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, and
It's
understand
like a
them-
toddler throwing a tantrum.
There's a difference between a stupid guy and a psychopath, honey. I'm all in your corner, but stupid's not Bryan Kohberger. A psychopath is Bryan Kohberger. The word he didn't like so much so he didn't want it into the courtroom. Please don't call me a psychopath, because that is not what I am.
them turning down this first motion for the post-conviction relief is another log on the fire for the bigger appeal issue. We're not done with these motions being filed. I think in the next 60, 90 days, like I'm saying, we're going to see a lot more start coming out of the woodwork. This is just
A lot more coming out of the woodwork. Ha ha ha. Firefly. I still haven't reviewed her. She's 4.5 hours long, Andrea, but she's got a breakdown because I went and looked earlier as I have it saved. But she has a timestamp, right, of all the chapters there or whatever, where she took, and she had like Alfred plea and like ding, 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 because I had gotten Jay to ask them when she interviewed them to elaborate on that Alfred plea statement he made to that guy at CrimeCon. And Steve said, he was trying to make sure that Ann didn't try to go that route because she'd been known to go that route. So when I noticed that Andrea touched on that, I clicked that part earlier and I reviewed it. So Andrea Burkhart, one of my mods, one of you guys grab her link and drop it into the chat. I do encourage y'all to go watch a defense attorney's take. She's not an appellate attorney, but she's pretty smart. She's really smart. She's methodical. She's slow, easy to understand. So yeah, go check her out and hear what she has to say about his chance at appeals. She'll explain the law to you along the way and all that, right? In a way that's easy to take. Now, yeah. So go check that. You can actually play her on fast speed because Andrea is slow. Not like that. She's just like, that's just Andrea Burkhart. So go check it out.
just step one to get that. There is a very
That's step one.
there's a very intricate, very well planned.
Y'all think he's put in an interview request for Bryan Kohberger via one of his Kevin Fixler, pally pal of mine? writing a book about Kohberger, are you? Mike Baker's your pal, and Mike Baker got a call from the Kohberger on the Colexi clue. Could I get a call on the collect call? Could you add me to the list, sir? Oh, Bryan. Kohberger, talk to Bryan Entin for us.
Out road that the defense is going to go down here. We're just getting started.
Yeah, the minute they thought they were going to.
Is she an appellate attorney, Rachel? For real, I didn't know that. I thought she was a defense attorney. Okay, good. No wonder I've always enjoyed her take on the law when I've chose to listen to the law on certain things, right? Because I can't with some of the people. That one appellate attorney, habeas corpus guy, I could never stomach. So, good. The information will be solid, correct? Yes, ma'am. Solid information. Thank you, Firefly. Thank you, Rachel and Firefly, for correcting me. She is an appellate attorney, guys. So I do recommend watching her. She was a great, great resource in the Richard Allen trial because she was there. And that woman can take some mad notes and recall. Oh my God, her memory. Yeah, go check her out.
Do a plea. They probably had a whole exit strategy to be like, this is what we're going to do. And they sold that to him.
So he's not selling out Anne right now? Anne's part of this?
Anne's me. This is just total.
You can just talk.
Just
Side theory.
I love this family. I swear I do. I feel like I've gotten to know them over the years, right? Because they've done this in real time in so many places, and the way they interact with each other, and they're just like us. They're just trying to figure this shit out, right? Just trying to figure this shit out, and Bill Thompson won't help us. So we appreciate, celebrate, and Cy for trying to help them. Bryan, Jesse Weber, thank y'all for facilitating this stuff.
Size theory.
Yeah, we're just spitballing right here.
Yeah.
See, I've always thought the same thing, honestly. I'm like, how do we know that she's not in on this? Say, hey, we're going to do this. Then after a few months, you're going to file, inadequate,
Ineffective
counsel. Just an attorney saying, yes, I was ineffective. Like you're looking at motions. You're looking at the evidence that was, attempted to be suppressed. You're looking at, there's so much more that goes into it than just an attorney being like, yeah,
she's essentially going to lay down on the knife, right?
I'm still stuck on what Cy started this whole conversation with, and Christy wasn't here, but that if they had done more digging and processing with the digital stuff, that Cy believes that there's evidence that Kohberger was in the living room at King Road based on the data he had. Like, did you guys know that? Did I just miss that somewhere?
I knew he was following these girls and stalking them online, but they refused. Nobody investigated if there was an online connection. There's no.
Are we talking about that night? That night he was in the living room?
No, Cy thinks previously.
Christy's like, fill me in, guys. What's happening here? In the living room, when? Let me add his little ass. Let me add him. In there, when? Tell me when. Being in their shoes, though, and legit trying to figure out what the hell happened to my kids and their friends, right? What did this guy do? Could he have done it? Was there enough time? Is it all real? Is the shit planted? Is what social media, all the stuff this family's been through and that social media has put them through, and that they accidentally were a part of at one point just by talking to social media. They got used. Let's be real. They got used. Text messages, private messages between them and certain TikTokers and YouTube maybe leaked, sold to Howard Bloom. They've been done wrong. And let me see. Let me just go take a look-see-loo real quick for shits and freaking giggles. Yeah. You can find stuff online right now. Mad because they are even talking. Mad because Cyray's even talking. How dare he turn on Kohberger, and how dare this family who believes Here's why it makes me so infuriated, because their narrative is this family knows Kohberger did not do it, but they're willing to go along and buy the state's narrative. Why would they do that? That's what they legit said. I heard it with my own ears. They know. They know the truth. They're covering it up. They know. What truth do they know? And how the hell, what are you talking about? Right? That's the disgusting shit being said. There is, wait, did someone ask about the Netflix doc? It's out. I heard there was no evidence of Kohberger online. Well, there's no, okay, you got to follow along. Yes, ma'am, Hearst woman. There's evidence, but not in the state's evidence. But Cyree, the defense expert, uncovered a whole lot that the prosecution did not find that absolutely may beg to differ. So did the Celebrate team. Anyway, guys, we'll carry on. We'll let Steve and family and Mr. Cyree here carry on. But just to have to unpack it like this, you know what I mean? It's healthy in ways. They find a safe place to land with certain communities, like Crescia, for instance, and Colby. Those safe place to lands where communities give them support to unpack whatever it is, right, without judgment. So that's what they're doing, in my opinion. This along the same lines as what Crescia and Colby have done, and shown us what families actually experience. What's wrong with that? Why do I got to hear only what the defendant's experiencing? What about his victims? What?
Based on the data
no,
that he
is
has from the defense.
So
That
fucking terrifying.
Out because we just skirted on past it.
Sorry, I've been thinking about that.
No. You're
Me-
right.
I'm like, did I
That's-
miss that somewhere and you guys secretly knew, or I didn't?
Oh, I'm going to go a little bit off script here too, and I could be wrong. And this is where I was asking about the VICAP report and all the questions to family and friends, which I can't find any reporting being done.
Never happened.
The little bit that I have dug into, I also believe it's possible that Bryan Kohberger could have been at that house at certain times and not necessarily even been noticed. I think he could have blended in very easy. A large group of guys specifically, but a large group of college kids hanging out in, near, around the house may not have triggered what everybody thinks necessarily. I'm not saying that there's evidence of him breaking in the middle of the night and snooping around the house. I believe there's evidence of him late at night being at, near, or in the house, but it's also at high traffic times in that general area. And I believe he could have blended in really easy. The other thing I'm going to throw back to Steve that is just mind-numbing to me is there is a pattern of him looking at multiple houses. I believe he's a serial killer. I believe that was the intent here, was he was going to start his serial killer spree, if you will. And one thing you have to understand about the psychology of serial killers is part of what drives them, part of what fuels what they're doing, is the randomness of selecting victims, watching victims and thinking in their head what they could do. That is a huge piece of serial killers. And I think he had.
Yeah, BTK talks all about it in grave detail. I'm sure Rex Harmon will too. His is a little easier, a little different than what BTK was out there doing and the way he chose victims.
Multiple targets throughout the entire Moscow Pullman area. And when you look at his phone at night, that's what he's doing. He is going around hitting these different houses, watching people, interacting with them potentially.
Oh my God. Interacting with them potentially. Like those girls at WSU that kept complaining and the creepy McCreeperson outside. I got to call my husband. Any of those girls, I wonder if he hadn't got caught, how long would he have waited before he harmed Xana's sister? No one knows who I am. I didn't forget my sheath, so I'm good. Grainy car. They don't even know who to look for, let alone phone records. I don't got to worry about nothing. All they got's a car creeping around next door. That could have been anybody's car because it's not me. No DNA in that house to tie Bryan Kohberger to this crime. So what do we got here? A serial killer. How long would it have took him to find his next victim? Had he already found her? Would he have than the Washington State slasher?
I cannot find any history where somebody's taken the phone records and mapped out all these locations and then gone to law enforcement reporting to say, hey, what reports of a prowler, suspicious person, stalking type behavior? Like, just give us all the calls for service in these different areas and see, can we match up? Hey, he keeps going back to this other
Horsewoman, we've done quite a bit of shows in the past because we've read all the Kohberger documents here. Yeah. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, because there's some of us who in the one of my pals is in the chat too. There's a couple of us here. Rachel's here as well. We can answer questions. Real Happy's here. So people who have really followed the case that know a lot of the back stuff too, and we do have all the documents and we do read them.
House on the northeastern side of Moscow. Oh, weird. The neighbor across the street has called in 3 times about a white car. Like, how does that change this investigation dramatically? And these are some of those things that I keep saying are just completely absent from this investigation. And the only reason I'm saying all of this part, Olivia, is I want him to get the appeal. I say, let's bring it on, get a new trial, but let's do it right. Let's get the right investigators involved, and let's go show the world just how depraved this guy was. Let's bring back the death penalty, make it happen. I worry that they don't do that and they fall back on this. Well, he's not going to get the appeal. We're not worried about it. Oh, crap. He made the first hurdle. He's not going to make the second hurdle. We're okay. And then all of a sudden we find ourselves in a position 5 or 6 years from now that there is a real possibility of a new trial, and they haven't done anything to patch the holes from the first round.
There it is. Ball's in your court, state of Idaho. FBI, y'all better get it together, because Bryan Kohberger and Ann Taylor are coming straight for you, as always planned. It appears to be speculating allegedly.
And that's where I've been very vocal with anybody who will listen. The time is now to start this investigation over, to do it, just document it, get it done. It's not a crazy expense. I mean, we've done everything at our own expense. I probably have about 50,000 invested in my Kohberger nonsense at this point. Like, there's people like myself and other people and stuff that you guys are doing that you can do this the right way. I think it's all about getting a mental mindset of where this thing can go, being very real and truthful with the victims' families to explain, hey, here's a number of scenarios. And even if it's a 1% chance, it's something that we need to discuss. And hey, how do you combat this? If lightning strikes twice here, how do we make sure?
That's what Steve appreciates. Take us out of the weeds, get us out of the, well, maybe this, maybe that. Speak to me honestly in layman terms and help me figure this out and understand, because I've been getting the fucking runaround for a long time and nobody would talk. Heather Bernhardt was the first one to reach out to this family and talk. Hey, this guy really was all you think he's been all this time. And here's the evidence, by the way. Cy Ray is now doing the same thing. We all know what tipsy-turvy. He's in Ann Taylor's pocket. Remember, he's paid. Cy was not.
This guy never walks, because that, at the end of the day, is the real goal here. This is why I've been so outspoken, is we can never allow somebody like this to walk, especially.
We can't. Now, to keep this in mind, if trial had happened, there's no way in hell Ann Taylor was calling this guy to that witness stand. No way in hell. He sat here and told us all, the more I dug, the more I said, this guy's guilty. I told the defense this guy was in that house. And Taylor's like, you're no longer needed here, sir. Good day. You signed an NDA. But she hasn't said a word since he's been speaking. Like he said, this man ain't stupid after all. Damn, Cy Ray. We may have side-eyed you a little too soon in the process, sir. We should have been a little more open, I guess.
Four murders. The FBI told me, they looked at me like, Steve, I know you're concerned, but do you think somebody with 4 murders is going to walk? We have to do everything perfectly. And it was crazy that when you told me that you felt like there was more mistakes on that.
Well, no, they don't need Cy, but they could actually have somebody look at the data they do have and see if they conclude finally the same thing Cy says he sees when they do a deep dive. That's the way I look at it. If we don't want Cy on it, well, fucking let's get somebody else. There's 1 million data dudes in this country. Can we hire one today? Outside of Turvey, Syre or anybody associated with the Bryan Kohberger team? Can we get an independent analysis of Bryan Kohberger's cell phone data? Let's demand that. Let's get an independent analysis with peer review from multiple sources to analyze Bryan Kohberger's data. Let's do it.
That side, I was just like, and that was the side I was almost going with. If the other families would have told me, kick Kaylee out and you guys go do your own thing, I would have. But they were like, no, we want.
He wanted to separate the 4 trials, and that's not uncommon. And that was a thing. He did ask for that. Let me go my own way. Y'all know, but there Steve was suppressed in a sort of way because he did have to deal with other families, and one of those families were very good friends, Madison Mogan's family. Those girls were one and the same. Those families, they went on family vacays together, right? Karen would take Kaylee and Christy would take Maddie all the time. They were incredibly close. They still are to this day. So they had Karen's feelings to consider and Scott's, Maddie's parents. There was Maddie's dad's feelings, but I don't know how, they weren't close with him. And then there was Xana's father and sister, and then there's Ethan's entire family, the Chapins, and they handled this a completely different way than the Goncalves here. And that's fine. That's okay. Stacy Chapin caught hell. Oh, look at her. She's just going on with her life. Stacy Chapin had to be strong. She made a decision. I got 2 other children who absolutely still need me to function, regardless that one of mine is gone now. And when she said 2 a.m. is a dark moment, people on the internet took it to mean that's something weird happened at 2 a.m. at King Road. That's the real time the killing happened. What she meant by that is when her family's finally asleep, her husband and her other 2 children, that might be the time she finally gets to break down all by herself. And 2 a.m. will never be the same. And that's coming from a mother who lost a child. I just giving an example to let people know how that might have meant something and what it might have actually meant versus that's when the killings really took place, not at 4/8/20, whatever the hell Dylan said.
We want you to be the loudmouth and pretend like we don't like you. But the truth is, if you're not here, we're all in fucking trouble because now we got to get our heads out of the sand,
So you don't think it was just.
Make sure I hit your points there.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Christy?
So you don't think it was just. Sometimes I think that people just put too much thought into it. And I think, look, he happened to spot one of the girls at some point in time. He started following them to their house, started watching them, found out that it was, a house full of girls, perfect for him, score, everything that he was, really needing and wanting. And he, started planning on, murder and, obviously had his knife and whatnot. And finally that night he just pulled the trigger and went in. I mean, I don't understand why everybody thinks it's so elaborate. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because that house is a dead end road surrounded by other houses. Okay.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Mom. He decided back before he ever moved to Washington that he was going to kill someone. He decided way back when that he was going to kill multiple someones if he was able to continue getting away with it. Okay. He walked into that house after 1. He didn't walk out after 4. He didn't anticipate this. He thought he'd be way better at it than he was. But part of his game is that he's a hunter. So it gave him an adrenaline boost to see them out in public, to follow them without them knowing, to do these things until that was no longer giving it. That drug hit wasn't enough. Until 100%. It just kind of became this. He knew he had to do this. There was
that urge was becoming more and more, and that's what some of us who were discussing it at the time were wondering, knowing how these types operate and work from what we know, right? And that you're building and you're building. And of course, if you're surveilling all these young women, you already purchased your pretty toy before you ever came over there. You came with intent, right? He already had these visions in his head, visions of glory in his head, acts he wanted to follow up on. Thinking about it was no longer enough. Watching and thinking about it was no longer enough. Acting was the next step, acting on it, right? On those thoughts. And Bryan Kohberger been trying to figure out what's wrong with Bryan Kohberger since the age of 14 years old.
No getting out of it. He had a separate bank account with money that he had put in there that he hadn't touched, and he was broke as a joke. It's not like he had
that secret stash money. We saw that in the document, Olivia.
A ton of money to spare. Starts using it in
Fantasy
cash.
fun.
Fantasy 101, because at the end of the day, he's just an addict, and the drug that he's chased has always just been different. First it was health and workout and this and that, and then it was, this grandiose that he's healing.
Forget the hair, the whatever, that addiction to that one drug.
His autoimmune disorders, because he's so smart. And
she brought up those autoimmune disorders. I kept pointing out that little rascal had this visual snow and his weird this and weird that. I'm like, dude, you were even on a couple of medications I knew were prescribed for autoimmune. I saw them in the documents. I've always known that autoimmune was there. That don't mean shit, but except it made things about Kohberger make sense. When you see the weird photos of his hands and stuff, and then people are like, oh, there's discoloration, his hands are what? I don't know what his autoimmune disease was. I'm willing to say it's thyroid related because there was a thyroid medication there, but it's not. It's going to be there's like a hypo and a hyper. Anyway, there's different autoimmunes that cover the thyroid. There's Graves' disease and there's Hashimoto's. I have Hashimoto's. I don't see him. He may have Graves' disease. I don't know. His eyes are weird, but is that from this Graves' disease? What caused this? Does he have an underlying I don't know about yet causing the visual snow? Because I know that's caused by an autoimmune. I just don't know which one. Because thank God I don't have that. I don't have that beast.
This and that, and it at one point it was heroin. Even
yep.
He's an addict that has always been obsessive and addicted to something. And
didn't he hide up in Jeremy's daddy's tree at the house? Jeremy was his friend in Pennsylvania, and he hid on Jeremy's dad's property in the tree, surveilling the house because he was practicing breaking in. And he broke in and stole some coins, I believe it was, but he also accidentally dropped his Reese's cup wrapper to the ground because he likes a little snacky snack when he surveils. They found it. Now that wasn't a crime that's like recorded and all that stuff, right? But it's in the where would we see that at? Where was that at, Firefly? Yeah, see, Firefly has the Graves and I have the Hashimoto's, and so we have both experienced it. We've talked about it before. Thank you for reminding me. But yeah, that was Bryan Kohberger. He also broke into the neighbor's house and met his friend's mother in the kitchen to apologize to her for breaking in before. He was practicing, y'all, in Pennsylvania before he ever got over there. That's why Pennsylvania really looked into the Dana Smithers case and investigated Bryan Kohberger and her murder. I'll believe it till they prove me otherwise, because that grand jury investigation in Pennsylvania his mother and father had to go testify in,
became addicted to this idea of chasing this high of killing someone. It wasn't personal to him.
100%. You couldn't have said that better. 100%. I agree with you.
Applause.
And if he ever does walk, he will kill again.
Yeah, of course he will.
We know they investigated him back in Pennsylvania, and it didn't go anywhere, but they definitely were concerned.
Yeah.
No,
well, I
escalated predatory behaviors until they no longer fulfilled his needs.
So I didn't get Thorn Road right, but was that close? Was that closer than Payne's little loop?
Oh, stop it.
That's terrible. It's about, if you look at where Thorn is and the road comes down, it kind of doglegs, 95 doglegs around.
Okay.
Dogleg, it starts to go straight again. It's the third dirt road after that one.
Oh.
There's a farm that sits right on 95 right there, and that's where he worked his way back up to Thorn, and then he came back down. So he goes across up to Thorn Creek and then back down around, and he actually shoots out back onto, I think it's
That was
195.
definitely close. And
It's not
AI helped me because
also that
I was trying to pull the timestamps all together with the 448, and 448 was my source of truth.
that he was stopped there. Ray said that he was stopped there for about 10 minutes. We never anticipated that long of a gap that he was stopped there.
Oh,
We
yeah.
always 1 to 2 minutes. So the timeline that we had
Gone farther down than he's probably needs to be.
Yeah. So it's
From
not,
the
it's not
house-
his fault.
From the house to where he stopped, I want to say it was like 14.5 miles. And you saw the rate of speed he was leaving the neighborhood at. I have no reason to believe he's not driving 65, 70 probably on the road. There's a solid 10 to maybe 15, depending on how fast he drove. And again, the part I can't stress enough is he goes back to that exact same spot where he stopped the next night.
Yeah, because he dumped his stuff.
Remember how the PCA mentions the next day that the 3 to 5 or 5 to 8 offline phone again, and then that's where it's like doesn't even make it a big deal. It's just the phone goes off again, but they don't tell us why it's relevant the next day, the next evening. Why is that relevant? Or what are you implying, right? Break it out. Yes, break out the map. Do it. We are working on it, Firefly. We're working on it. We're trying to grab the details, right? We're grabbing the details because Rachel's there. We got boots on the ground, y'all.
Stuff right
He
there.
did?
Yeah, he goes back.
Exactly.
Holy
And then goes through the Snake River.
And then as soon as he's there, he goes down to the Snake River, and he doesn't spend any time. He goes to Snake River, and then immediately he's back up 195.
So you think he left the stuff there and went back and got it the next day and then dumped it in the river?
Oh,
Yeah, and
wow.
I'll give you guys my theory.
hold on, Cy. Hold up, because that aligns with our early theory. So aligns. Didn't dump it that night, went back and got it and did it later. Aligns with our running theory. Thank you.
I would be really interested in your feedback here, but looking at everything that I've seen, I believe Maddie was the target. I believe Maddie is who he interacted with earlier. There's some other things that kind of support that. I hope a lot of this comes out at some point. I think.
Sorry to know, but why do you say some things to support that? Is that the cell phones?
Yeah, there's a lot more collisions between Bryan's phone and Maddie's phone than any of the other victims. And what I'm saying about collision is they start to occupy the same space at the same time. And there is a little bit more of a pattern to that than with the other victims.
And what do you mean, though? I know you don't have all the data in front of you, but like in different locations, or like where
I want to say August 28th, but I could be wrong if that's a Sunday. The first Sunday after the full week of school starting in August, it's Maddie's phone that I think interjects with his phone in Pullman. And this is the apartment complex right next to Bryan's. And they start off at like the student center at WSU, and then they move up to an apartment complex. And I think there was an interaction there that could have been the first crossing of paths. There's multiple times around the house that A&W over time, but consistently it's more with Maddie than the other roommates at that point.
He dips into his fantasy fund, and Kaylee's up here. And it was like that's the moment he's going to plan this murder, and she's still down there, and Kaylee's up here hanging out with us. So I
There it is. There it is. And I hope every fucking pro-burger on the planet can wrap their head around what was just said there. Because that meant Bryan Kohberger fucking knew, like we suspected, that Kaylee was at home and not in that house that weekend, and she was not supposed to be there. Her plan was not to go there. She was on the fence about going back there. Remember? Come be my +1. Told her mama, I don't know if I want to go back. I got all this packing to do. I'm going to be leaving. I'm going to Texas for my new job soon. Kaylee makes a last minute decision to go back. Why? To show Maddie, her best friend, her brand new car. Used car, new to her car. She wasn't supposed to be there, and she was a surprise in that bed when he walked into that bedroom, and she took fucking hell for it. Because he went straight for Madison Mogen, and the minute Kaylee became alerted, he unleashed everything he had on her. It was too late for Madison.
I totally agree, but I can't say that in a forum.
And you guys know better than I would. I think the fact that Kaylee is in the same bed as Maddie that night is somewhat of a fluke. Like, right, that wasn't something he could have predicted. So what I believe starts as a targeted one victim thing very quickly rolls into two. I think Xana interrupted that, and I think there's great blood.
That's the scream.
Well, the screen, but also there's really good. So before, in my prior life, before I started doing a lot of the phone stuff, I did a lot of homicide stuff. I was a blood spatter expert. There is excellent blood spatter in this house that, in my opinion, Xana not only interrupts it, but he chases Xana through a big portion of the house. And that's where Xana comes into, and then Ethan comes into. And to your guys' point of the physical side of this, he's just exhausted by the time he sees Dylan. And that's why Dylan today. And this
Exactly. Why would he make eye contact with Dylan Mortensen and decide to continue to go out that back door and not go straight for her like a madman on a rampage? Dude wasn't expecting all that. A lot of shit just went down super quick, and now there's 4, and this guy's going holy adrenaline. By the time he made eye contact with Dylan, it was go time. He was got a one-track mind to get out of that house. It was now or never. He didn't have a clue at that moment. He forgot his sheath upstairs because Kaylee sent him next level. And if you've read the documents and been here for past shows, we know exactly what he did to each and every one of these victims, and it was fucking horrendous.
changes his plan, and this is really important for the investigators to wrap their head around the route.
What it feels like happened is she was in that kitchen and she did hear stuff, which Dylan claims she heard stuff too. So we have Xana hearing something, maybe approaching to get up the stairs, and he's coming down. There he is. There she is, and she takes off and runs, obviously, right back toward her room. Her attack, I always feel like, started in that living room. He reached for her in there and made that maybe where he made the first wound, and she was still able to keep running, and he chased her all the way into the room. We know what happened once she got to the room. I feel like that's always how it unfolded, because I put myself in that house a time or two. There was back in the day, you could access that house virtually online and move through the home. Parts of the PCA were pinned to certain rooms, wasn't it, Firefly? You could move through the whole house in real time, almost just like it was. It was crazy. It wasn't hard to figure out what Bryan Kohberger did in that house and how. So inside's like you can see it in the evidence, right? And they're picking apart diluted blood over there on the Weird Queen show.
Back was going to be the same route that he took there. I believe he was going to go right back out on Indian Hills, up north to that little crossover road, and then come back north of the airport back in, because he can get all the way to his house and never pass a video camera other than the Indian Hills.
Hey, Butterfly, this is a great episode. Thank you for coming in. You can catch us on the replay. So he's like, Indian Hills was his path choice, Firefly.
One. But because 911 is being called, he drops down to the south. So yeah, I think it went from 1 to 2 to 4 very, very quickly. Then there's the interruption, which completely throws him off his plan. He doesn't know what to do, but he's smart enough with everything he has on the criminologist side, which, by the way, I completely agree with you, Olivia. He is a terrible criminal. His PhD program is not
box of rocks.
Yeah, but he is smart enough to know they may be looking for a white car. I shouldn't go driving back up through campus driving a white car with a car full of
and the path that you were talking about where he went, I think Indian Hills Road, everything he did was misdirection. So he didn't want to come in from west to east. He wanted to come from east to west. He was playing the same game. So if he did get caught, he wanted it to appear like he was coming from the opposite direction of where he really came from.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I do have to go.
Okay.
But I just want to.
All right, guys. Man, that was awesome. I really appreciate Cy. And Bryan, thank you for putting this together. It wasn't a gotcha. It was organic, apparent, talking with people. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for honestly having such a platform where I do genuinely feel like we have said more in this than we've ever really said publicly. And that's honestly 100% due to you and how you choose to, be a journalist and the open environment that you foster. And Cy Ray, I just wanted to say thank you. It is what it is.
speak
I
well of
understand
you.
what you're saying, and I appreciate your time more than anything else. Just being able to,
Well-
talk with us and meet on a playing field together.
My little 5 minutes that I have, I'm literally going to go to bed with nightmares now because of the hearing him say that he was in the living room and then hearing him say that he went back to that same spot the next night. I mean,
This
I'm
is
like,
his thought. This is him thinking out loud.
I know, but that just terrifies me. I'm like, oh,
Oh, bless her heart, man. To know this guy was doing this to your babies, stalking, surveilling, following, watching in their house possibly, and they never knew it. Kaylee had a suspicion that she had a stalker occasionally, but Kaylee was like she did videos about being the FBI agent, right? That was Kaylee Goncalves. She's into true crime. Kaylee was aware of her situation and her surroundings. God bless her heart. Bless her heart.
my gosh. And that he,
Mom, there's literally not a single thing scary about him. He's the biggest pansy coward
He's a
ass that you
pussy.
could ever
He's a
imagine.
pussy.
the
Like,
girls
literally,
were
like,
scared.
Y'all bring her back. Y'all show mama love. Show mama that love. That's a good daughter.
Well, of course,
yes, the
because
girls were scared
they were
because of his
vulnerable.
illusion, Mom, and he doesn't
Monsters
have an
prey
illusion
on vulnerable
anymore.
people.
Yeah,
Y'all, this is hard for me. I'm sorry.
same thing, Bryan. Thanks for having me on. And I'll throw this out, Steve. I talked about it earlier, and Olivia, it goes to you as well. And if you're okay with it, Steve, I'll just respond back to that. Yeah, I have your email on, I think, the questions that they sent over, that Courtney sent over. I'll respond back to you. I'll give you guys my contact and my phone number 24/7. Anything you guys ever need, or if you need to bounce anything off, let me know. I'm more than happy to sit down anytime, have as many conversations as you want. If there's anything you guys are doing foundation wise or trying to promote some of the change you guys are talking about, I'm super interested. Let me know how we can help if we can. I can't emphasize enough, we are really trying to push this as a really intense training for law enforcement on how to never fall for this trap again and how to prevent a lot of these things. We're getting an excellent.
All right, that was amazing, guys. Thank y'all for coming and unpacking that with me. I so appreciate that. Horsewoman, if you have legitimate questions, you're welcome to ask. There was no cleanup. It depends on where you go view content about this case was where you'll see there was a cleanup. Brent Turvey tells you there was a cleanup, but he has no proof there was a cleanup. He's basing that on lack of items in a bathroom versus a visualization of a real cleanup documented in crime scene photos. There would be swirl marks and everything, all kinds of things happening. It's not there. And that's not what Turvey said he saw. He didn't see towels and a bath mat, so he assumes somebody cleaned it up. Some diluted blood spots mixed with spilt beer, spilt whatever. It's a crime scene. 4 victims all have blood on a same knife. There's going to be mixtures and dilutions occurring, right? So hear it all out. And if you're consuming that, I don't know where that's coming from. I know where it comes from, but you're welcome to hear what we feel about that. There's no cleanup, not documented anyway in the court of law or on any evidence at all. We have all the photos, Horsewoman, all the documents ever published in this case, all the court hearings ever published in the case, all the photo dumps and every undocumented document out there, all the Moscow Police Department files downloaded and released, all the Idaho State Police. We have it all. We've seen all the pictures, including ones we can't unsee, that we just needed to get through real quick and say, okay, that's horrific what he did to those people, to those young victims. It was horrendous. Yeah, we didn't see evidence of cleanups in any of the photos we saw. I saw lots of blood spatter everywhere, no sign of a cleanup. If I'm going to clean up a crime scene, I'm cleaning it all up. I'm going to try my best. That's my thought anyway. Damn it, guys. All right, it's been a long day, guys. Thanks for coming in for the Lindsay Clancy trial. Those of you who are watching that with us, I got to process a lot of what Cyree was saying, kind of like Christy Goncalves. That's a lot. Watching this family unpack this in real time over the years, it's just always been, you feel like you get to know them sometimes, like I get to know Kresha and Colby and Seth Rogers and Proudfoot over there. You get to know these people. You can't help it. But to see what they actually go through, guys. That's the whole thing. And it's not pretty. And the fact that they get victims are harmed on the internet all the time and used and exploited, and you got Trisha over there making fun of people in a real weird way, like she don't know what she's doing, but it's like, that's icky, lady, that kind of way. And the other women who want to come live and get real super emotional and tell you how devastating a 911 call is, that we really didn't want to hear to start with, and it was silenced in the courtroom, so we didn't hear it. But she's going to make sure she comes out there and drives it home with all of her emotion. It's disgusting. I can't. I got to go touch the grass. He did, a Firefly, exactly. If you go watch the Custody Queens, check out their interview with Cy Ray. We reviewed it here. The Custody Queens are Kohberger supporters, if you will. So they had defense expert Turvey on, and they had Cy Ray. Go view each of those episodes and see where you sit with the experts, and you can absolutely make up your own mind, right, of how you feel about it, about the situation, to give yourself a little more information about it if you want that. You know what I mean? That's like a good place to start, I guess, to see with each expert. And both experts, now take this in mind, they both work for the defense team. These are not prosecution experts. These are Bryan Kohberger defense team experts. So keep that in mind. But I would recommend highly watching both of those episodes. And again, Bryan's video, that Butterfly, catch us on the replay, honey. It was a good one. All right, guys, I got to go down to the store here in a few minutes and grab a couple of things. And I'm hungry. I want to eat dinner, and I want to go touch some grass. That was a lot that he gave us there, in the being in the same places with Madison Mogan, right, where he can place them and pull them together at the apartments next door to his, but they're going through the Indian Hills route, the dirt roads, going back the next night, being a lot of stuff. And we're going to unpack a lot more of these details probably over the weekend, probably on Saturday night, I'm thinking. I'm actually considering doing it as a members only live for the Idaho 4 case, for those who want to come in and have the conversation and unpack some stuff about it, and see what we can explore, because some people don't really know the case that weren't a part of it in the beginning, and they may be like, why is this guy trying all this stuff, right? Some may just be really becoming interested, so I want to make sure people get factual information. But I also owe my members a live stream. Oh, you can member up, as far as I think it's still like a free trial right now, guys. Check it out if you haven't. All right, y'all, I appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming in. And we have trial in the morning for Lindsay Clancy. They stopped early today. And Pammy, thank you, ma'am. You just supported my channel in a huge way, and I super appreciate that. I really do appreciate you, Pammy. You're a great community member, and you're always level-headed, and you bring a lot to the table, and your daughter is very good at what she's doing as well. We appreciate you so much. And all of y'all coming in and being here for true crime, but in not the weird way, right? Not the weed way, not the whatever kind of weird way. Just legitimately always been into it maybe, and you just want to unpack and see how it affects these victims. And when you really see that, right, and when we really understand what they're going through, it throws it a different way, right? We see it a different way. And these Supreme Court challenges in these cases where things are overturned based on you should have had a warrant. That's a future show coming up, because that's been a problem of mine for a long time. You should have had a warrant, FBI. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging in there with me, and I appreciate all the kind words and y'all coming in and doing all the YouTubey thingies. Pinto, thank you. We're trying. We are plugging along. We're slow. We have organic growth around here, the way I like it. There's not a lot of bells and whistles, but it's true crime. So I don't know how to incorporate entertainment into true crime. So you get what you get. So thank y'all for coming in to the big show. Y'all go have a great evening, and if you're coming back tomorrow for the Clancy trial, we'll see you then. Try to rest tonight, because there's a lot of stuff there to unpack and put in its place, right? Y'all go get a breath of fresh air tonight. All right, guys.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe and follow. love.